without blazing beats. On stages for that once gracefully, and I got a smile that they hate to see. Young, black, successful, though life gets stressful.
Maybe you like Caden and Hank, who get a real thrill from the speed of their HDDs.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Six Masters 2020. I'm Guz. Joining me is Raven. We've been on a little bit of a competitive hiatus. The game has undergone some changes. The ANZ region's undergone some changes as well. We should be set for a cracking season.
Yeah, super excited for Six Masters to finally be here. It feels like it's been a while since we've had some competitive R6. But given the way that the ANZ Pro League finished off, I think Six Masters is going to be a really exciting league to follow.
Well, make sure you guys follow all the action in Six Masters by following at Rainbow Six ANZ socials on screen now. You can also participate in the community poll, Raven, and you can show your true colors.
Yeah, you can. You can try be an analyst yourself and see how often you can get it right. We all know that some of us can get it wrong from time to time, so it's it's a good little way to participate.
Yeah, also make sure you use the hashtag Six Masters as well and show us what you're getting up to. I think this is such a great time for ANZ esports, and the fact that we can, still participate, still crack on, despite what's going on everywhere else. It's just great to see, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good to be able to just push forward, and Six Masters just brings some new excitement for us in the ANZ region, but also globally. You guys tuning in on the Rainbow Six channel will be from all kinds of areas of the world, and we get to bring you some great Siege.
Awesome. Well, what is Six Masters? Let's have a look at the 8 teams that are participating in this tournament. There is one notable team that isn't here. That is Fnatic. They elected not to take their spot here, and Raven, that opened it up for LFO. They qualified through that open qualifier a couple of weeks ago. So these are the 8 teams we have in front of us. Maybe walk us through what we can expect from some of these teams.
Yeah, we saw some really strong matches coming out of Elevate. So they are coming in as the first seed. As you said, Fnatic aren't going to be returning to defend their back-to-back Six Masters titles. So Elevate are taking that first seed spot. Something to keep an eye out for is going to be Wildcard. They made some big changes at the end of the ANZ Pro League season, bringing in Pat and Geo. And they had some good form, which they didn't really have in the first half. So if they can bring that forward here, they might really return to strength that we saw from them before. And of course, LFO are going to be a dark horse of their own coming in through those open qualifiers. It does mean these Pro League teams haven't played them before, and there's also not as much prep for them, which can play some kind of factor.
Now, some of you keen-eyed viewers out there that may follow ANZ or have followed it previously may notice that the team at the bottom right of screen under the Pittsburgh Knights is a new logo. That is Team Ferox. They are previously, or were previously, under the Fury banner. They also underwent a couple of roster changes as well, but we'll get into that when we deem appropriate. So I think just overall, seems shaping up really nicely, and it's going to be a cracking season. All these teams looking pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, all gone through some kind of changes. A couple of steady horses in there, but regardless, given how the ANZ Pro League did wrap up, it does mean that Six Masters is going to be very exciting. And the fact that it's the league format with the round robin, we're going to get to see them all play each other. It's going to be really tight.
Awesome. Well, let's have a look at who's playing tonight. It will, of course, be 2 best of 2s. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is because previously in ANZ, we had a 2 best of 1 format. But Raven, that's changed for this time, which will shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, it is best of 2s, so you can take the series, so to speak, if you were to win both maps. So you can tie the series, of course, if each team is to win a map. And the other big change here, of course, is that we have overtime. So if you are at 6-6, it is not going to be a draw because we need the result in order to conclude a best of 2 series.
Well, of course, we have Wildcard and Sinister up first, 2 teams that are really looking to continue some form that they tried to establish in Season 11 of Pro League. And then we have Elevate taking on the newest team in Six Masters, being LFO. Both these matchups looking really great, Raven. I'm really excited to jump into them.
Really exciting matchups to start us off for sure, especially Wildcard Team Sinister, which we will see up first. Wildcard, as we said, finished pretty strong with some of the changes they'd made, and Sinister, on the other hand, finished strong with only small changes such as their roles, and having them head-to-head is going to be fantastic to finally see where they really are at, both those teams.
Yeah, I think there's real potential that we do see that drawn series. Of course, the best of 2 format will allow for that if both teams take a map. I think it's really going to be interesting, as you mentioned, to just gauge where they are. Wildcard in the back sort of part of that Season 11, when they had that sort of newer roster coming in, they didn't look as comfortable as we would have expected, but I'm sure that over this break, they put a lot of hard work into really consolidating their lineup, as we see on screen, and I'm expecting big things from them this season.
Definitely. They've had a lot of time now compared to before to grind in this new roster and see where it fits in. And even through the back-to-back weeks that we saw them play in Pro League, they already looked like they were starting to increase the strength and their performances. They had some really dominant wins against Elevate in potentially a week where Elevate weren't playing their best. But regardless, that Wildcard brought that out was a great sign for them. So we will finally get a chance to see how they back it up.
Well, it is the battle of the Reds this evening. Wildcard will be taking on Team Sinister, who went undefeated in the second half of Season 11 in the Pro League. But that was off the back of a pretty poor first half, Raven. Are they going to be able to continue the form from that second half here into Six Masters?
It is the million-dollar question, Guz, is can they continue that form? They were really hot to trot in the end of the ANZ Pro League, having a flawless second half, in fact, which brought them all the way up into 5th place. And that just came off the back of role changes. We talked a lot about it in Pro League. Moloska there at the top of the roster lineup, he took on the IGL role, and that seemed to be the linchpin that really opened it up for Sinister. So if they can continue that form, I think it's going to be a really solid matchup against Wildcard.
Yeah, I think Team Sinister on a good day will take it up to Wildcard, but we have seen in the past where they enter a map, they might have a couple good rounds or a good starts to particular rounds, and that starts to like drop away. If their mindset gets negative, that can really impact them. So hopefully they'll be looking strong here, and that leadership from Moloska could really prevail.
Yeah, and on top of that, we also saw another player in Sinister step up a lot throughout the season in Pro League, and that was Nico. In fact, in the second half, he had some fantastic matches, notably on Buck with nades, so that is going to change. But regardless, he had some great performances in their Pro League matches, stepping up, getting some really impactful kills, as well as just always being consistent. And I think if he can continue that form, likewise, Sinister will also be able to continue their form, because if everyone's stepping up, filling those roles effectively, then you would assume that they can continue that.
And you mentioned earlier that Team Sinister, the million-dollar question is if they can continue this form. I think now might be a good time to mention that Six Masters is a $50,000 prize pool in Australian, so these teams definitely fighting it out for some serious cash. So they're going to be bringing their A game. This is no second-tier competition, is it?
No, definitely not. It's high stakes. There's a lot of cash on the line for these teams here in Australia. And on top of that, of course, bragging rights. I mean, Fnatic were back-to-back Six Masters champions. They're not going to be able to do that this year. So just being able to call yourself the Six Masters champions for one of these teams is going to be a really great feeling that they're going to be fighting for.
All right, well, let's start talking maps. We have the map veto ready. Let's have a look. Of course, the format, keep in mind, is slightly different because it is the best of 2. We will see one ban from one team, one ban from another, and then a pick from each. So let's bring up the bans and see what maps we will not be heading to here in the first match. Border and Consulate taken off the board. Border is the classic insta-ban of Wildcards, so no surprises there.
No, definitely not surprised at all to see them ban off Border. And Consulate also a very strong map for Wildcard. I don't blame Sinister for not wanting it all to challenge them on Consulate. More importantly, guys, that also means that Theme Park is left open. So will we get to see some Theme Park played is what I'm really, really excited to find out.
Well, let's bring it up. It'll be Clubhouse for the first match and Theme Park
Ooh, there we
for
go.
the second in the series. This is personally the first time I've casted a Theme Park. I know we've had some competitive play in it from some of the other regions. I'm excited. I don't know really what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. We have not seen it played much, if at all, really, in ANZ. I believe it was played a little bit in the open qualifiers, but even then, we don't have a whole lot to go on. So that's going to be a fantastic map to watch. Clubhouse is also surprising for me. Of course, you can only ban one map, so it is something's going to get through. But Clubhouse is notoriously a really strong map for Sinister. I'd argue potentially even stronger than Border. So maybe Wildcard have something up their sleeves to take Sinister on that map. So map 1 could be a real nail biter.
Yeah, I think if Sinister can bring their A game to what is, as you mentioned, one of their better maps, that's going to set themselves up nicely. And then when you're heading into the unknown of map number 2, I think that momentum will really mean a lot because, of course, it is the best of 2 series. So it's slightly different to how it was before. And that momentum just means a little bit more. On face value, though, who are you thinking backing into this one? What sort of scoreline can we expect?
Really tough to predict, to be honest. Given how Sinister's form was at the end of Pro League, it's really hard to count them out. And then given the vetoes as well, with Clubhouse being that first map and Theme Park being a bit of an unknown, I don't know. I really can't call it. Maybe I'm leaning a little towards Sinister just because of how map 1 has turned out in terms of it being Clubhouse. But by no means am I discounting Wildcard.
Yeah, it's just, as you mentioned, so difficult to say because Wildcard haven't hit their full stride with this newer, updated roster. We saw it in Season 11 of Pro League, but it was pretty obvious that it wasn't quite tuned, I think, the way they would have liked. But having that time now over that break to really refine things could make or break them in this first matchup. And again, it's going to be super interesting how we see it. Also, on top of that, let's mention the game changes that have occurred as well. There's been plenty of balancing changes. It's been a hot topic. Teams as well need to consider that when they're sort of forming new strategies and trying to develop how they're going to approach these matches. Is there a particular team in this instance that might have the upper hand with that?
It's going to depend on operator bans, because I mean, we could talk about maybe one of them has really brought in the Ying changes to help them with their attacks, but maybe Ying will end up being banned, so that might not be a factor. But regardless, yeah, you're right. There have been some balancing changes. Some operators might see some more picks. I'd be interested to see if there's more Warden played, for example, on the defense. All things that we're going to be able to find out, because at this stage, being the first play week of 6 Masters, there's a lot of unknowns for us.
All right, well, both me and Raven are a little bit undecided on who we think is going to take this series. What do you guys at home think? Let's bring up the poll result. And it will be Wildcard, 63% to 24%. I think probably speaks for itself. I think Wildcard have a pretty solid backing, especially coming off the back of some big international events.
For sure, very recognizable, often known as a strong team, so hard to go against them. And to be honest, even though I was slightly leaning towards Sinister because of the Clubhouse map coming through, Wildcard is still a great team, and they're good on Clubhouse as well. So there's no reason why they won't be able to counter Sinister on that. And I think it's going to be maybe even tighter than this poll suggests, but who knows, man.
I think the interesting thing that you noted there is it's going to be up to Wildcard to really counter Sinister, suggesting maybe that Sinister do have a bit of an upper hand in terms of their strategy heading into this match. If you're in the Wildcard camp, what are you thinking heading into this one? What are you going to try and bring to the table to try and shut down Sinister on a map that they've proven time and time again they're pretty strong on?
Yeah, I think the main thing for Wildcard is going to be don't get baited into the bait strat that we saw from Sinister.
There you go. It's as easy as that, boys. Let's jump into it.
That's simple.
Wildcard versus Team Sinister. Here we go. The very first match of 6 Masters 2020. It's going to be an absolute banger. The ban phase, Raven. Are we going to see a Ying ban? That is the $1 million question, as you sort of alluded to earlier.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure we will actually see it banned. I think most teams will probably lean towards persevering with countering it. Thatcher ban is a classic Clubhouse ban, of course, and then likewise with the Maverick. Ying is actually banned though, so no Maverick ban this time, which means that hard walls and hatches will have a pretty high possibility of getting opened. And it's Wildcard that's actually banned out the Ying now, guys. Them declaring it, not wanting to deal with it.
They are, of course, on the attack first, so arguably a little bit of a brave ban if you want to try and get that upper hand, but keep in mind, there is overtime, of course, in these matches, so it's not all but lost in regulation. Echo coming out as the second last ban, and it will be rounded out by another Intel Gatherer. Yes, it will be. It is Maestro.
Yep, Echo Maestro, pretty good bans for most maps, to be honest, and Clubhouse, of course, is not accepted from that. Something really important to talk about as well, Wildcard, like I said, they aren't pushovers on Clubhouse. In fact, they actually beat Fnatic 7-3 on Clubhouse on the final playday of ANZ Pro League Season 11. So by all means, they can perform well on this map against some good teams. Sinister aren't going to have an easy run into this map as they start off on defense, going to the second floor, CCTV cash room to start us off.
Diesel level 6 pick onto Maverick as well. Operator that we would often see sometimes as that second ban, but Ying has filled that spot. So it's coming up to Sinister to be really mindful of the angles that Wildcard will be able to generate from that blowtorch. Of course, you can Maverick trick the wall or create smaller peaks, whatever the preference of the team is. And it's going to be up to Sinister to be extremely cautious of that. Man, I'm excited though. I just can't wait to see these teams duel it out. I feel like this best of 2 series is really going to make for a close match. If we go into overtime, I'm expecting some 7-8 results for sure between these two.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting to be able to get conclusions to some of these matches where we won't be having those draws, and it is going to extend some of these matches out. So if it really is a back and forth affair, it's not going to end in that draw. We will get a conclusion, which is really, really nice to see.
5 seconds remaining.
One thing to note as well while we jump into this game is Derpy. He will be playing for Team Sinister, filling in for Luna. Previously, Derpy did play for Wildcard, so he's actually versing his former teammates. And I think we discussed this a little bit, maybe off broadcast a couple of weeks ago, Raven, but maybe it was someone else, I can't remember. But that dynamic of taking on your previous team, the knowledge that you can bring to your new roster, encountering that old team can be pretty big.
And it can. It's a lot of good insight that can help you counter a team. But you've got to say, with the lineup changing so dramatically on Wildcard, they've probably changed also a lot of their strats and the playstyle that they've got. So whether that translates over, we'll have to see. Maybe as soon as they do come out and win in a strong fashion, you could allude to the fact that maybe that was with some help from Derpy.
Wildcard now preparing to open up that wall as their players get into position. Geo here on Habana will likely try and cut off the garage rotate as Diesel will start to work on the wall with that blowtorch. Mindful of the drone hold that he doesn't get shot forward. Mindful of the gas as well, slowing him down. I think so far Sinister are doing quite a good job in stalling this out and just making it a little bit challenging for Wildcard to get it open quickly.
And I really like the use of these smoke babes here from Fisher Guy. He's actually using it to delay opening that wall, which is such a critical part of the attack. You can cut off the entirety of CCTV from rotates once that wall is open. So if you delay that as long as possible, they don't have that strong position. That being said, though, I do see that the Maverick trick has been successful now, which means Wildcard can get that open.
Indeed they will, and Diesel will rotate as Ethan will come around with that skeleton key and open up a nice line of sight for Emo Rin. Pre-fires the wall. Not sure whether that play was inside of Con. Nonetheless, he doesn't hit the shot. And now in classic Wildcard fashion, we will start to enter red time a little bit, under a minute, very shortly. And this is where we tend to see them explode.
Yeah, really traditional for Wildcard to have that slower style attack, you're right. And we will have to start see them doing something, obviously, as we enter the final minute. And that's one thing I really want to see from this new Wildcard lineup is maybe a change in their attack meta, not leaving things to that last minute. Diesel is going to open the scorecard there. It's Milo off the table now. And if they can get a move on, it's looking like a pretty good attack so far from Wildcard.
Nade's being sent out there as Derpy tries to deny any sort of entry inside of Garage. He gets lit up from the main wall, now stuck, but he manages to get away. Nico gets one as well, so it's a 4-on-4 with 30 seconds left, and time could be very precious here for Wildcard. They're forced inside of Garage. Derpy still in such a strong position, but he doesn't hit the shot. He pre-aims the wrong angle, and now they can advance in towards the Catwalk, in towards the B site. They try and get close towards that default. Sinister holding common positions to try and deny it. That's a shot from Vinny. That takes down one and has 10 seconds left. Ethan on the plant, fakes it once. He won't be able to fake it again though. They need to stick it. Is the denial there from Sinister? That is the question. They do have Nico below. Vinny gets a C4 kill as well. And Ethan is forced to stick it. Vinny makes his way up the main stairs in towards Cash. Does he have the angle though? No! He will eventually down him as he gets off the plant, leaving it up to Geo. in a 1 versus 2. We saw him clutch a 1-on-5 against this very team in the first round of Season 11. Now he needs to do it on a smaller scale, but he can't even get the first, and Sinister will successfully retake the site.
Defenders have eyes on the diffuser.
It's a great retake from Sinister there. They had the intel they needed. They had Geo stuck in that position on server rack. The fact that Wildcard are actually able to get that plant down, I was a little bit surprised about. I thought that Sinister might have had the denial there, but regardless, it got a bit messy, and great for Sinister's confidence. We talked about their mindset coming into this has always been a bit of an issue, so getting that first round on the board, you've got to say, is going to help them a lot.
Good start for Sinister. Wildcard very close to taking that round, but time not quite on their side. And you alluded to it earlier, maybe we need to see a little bit of a shift in their attacking matter. I'm assuming that maybe the Ying ban hasn't helped them. Potentially they incorporated that into some of their strats to allow for some quicker entries, but Sinister denied that, so we might see them go back to their old ways.
And it can go a couple of ways with operator bans. You can ban to try and destabilize the way a team plays. But on the other hand, that can also make them less predictable. So while you think you're messing them up, maybe it means they change their strats so the things you've done to counter aren't actually effective anymore. And that can work against you. Not sure whether the Ying ban is really what is enabling anything like that, but it's just something to consider here. Since they're going to move down to Church now, which is a pretty common progression on Clubhouse, pretty strong, and without the Thatcher, means that there's going to be some selection for what gets opened. Of course, Wildcard do have the double hard breach there with the Maverick and Habana, but there is a way to block those Habana pellets from going off. You can Kai trick, impact trick, that kind of thing.
Appreciate a guy here on the colorful. It looks like Sinister doing some sort of space station strat in terms of holding above site here, executing a little bit of a roam. Vinny as well with some cameras to aid in that. So keep an eye on bar here. There's going to be a lot of action happening here early round as Sinister will try to deplete as much time from Wildcard as possible. And to be honest, that might be a viable strategy. We saw their time management cost them a little bit there potentially in the last round. Maybe Sinister are trying to continue that for the rest of this map.
I'd say for a majority of that last attack, Wildcard did a pretty good job with time. The final stall point was just getting that garage control. Derpy did a great job at stalling them out. On top of that, Sinister did a great job backing up Derpy. It was actually Nico that got the opening pick for Sinister while covering Derpy as they tried to rush and take that catwalk. So some good teamwork from Sinister enabled them to stall out Wildcard. If they can do that again, it's really going to be what helps them win more defense rounds.
Geo already using 2 of his ex-Kairos pellets, leaving 1 left in his inventory. Maybe accidental, a little bit hard to tell. Either way though, that will diminish their ability to open 2 more hatches if they so desire. It looks like Wildcard establishing decent control above here. But just like that, we've only got half the round to go.
That's right, and they are taking a lot of time. Vinny is still on the roam here. He's actually been covered from above. Gonna run away and get back to site, but that's over half the round burned. No engagements have really come about, and there's a little bit of control towards site, but Kitchen Hatcher's ankle is still closed. Dirt hasn't been touched. I'm not sure about the progression from Wildcard here. It's looking like it's going to be really leaning towards Sinister into this final minute.
I know in the past we have seen Wildcard try and execute in towards the church wall and plant behind the black boxes in sight. That's going to be pretty hard with only 1 Habana pallet left. It'll take these a lot of time to open that, so they might need to switch things up here. Looks like they're trying to gain more control here from above. Ethan, with plenty of ammo left in that skeleton key, of course, it was slightly increased in the last patch, and Ethan taking full advantage of that.
Bomb located by attack.
Nice shots coming out onto Pat as he comes to main stairs. He's definitely going to be a player to watch out for. We've seen him have some really sneaky aggressive players, particularly on the Ash operator. If Sinister can keep that in check, then it's going to make it even harder for Wildcard to get something going. And as we say that, almost 20 seconds to go, guys, and Wildcard have very minimal control. Sinister sitting in some great positions, and a shot from Pat takes out Vincia, leaving it 15 seconds in a 5 versus 4.
Pat's forced to rush in. Can he get one? He does. That's a double. But Sinister, they're getting frags back. It's a 3-on-2. Not much time left. Ethan needs to try and collect that diffuser and go for the plant. Sinister playing so patiently. That's Pat taken off the board, but he can't get the second. Ethan needs to go for the plant, but they get the kill in the final millisecond there from Ethan. I was wondering why he wasn't sticking the plant. He backed himself to go for the frag and hits it with a wall back. Wow.
Wow, man. I would love to see the millisecond count on that, because that was 0-0-0 as far as we could tell. So scraping through just in the final moments there was Wildcard. It was looking pretty sketch. It came to an absolute trade fest, but they got it. It's 1-1, and it means Sinister are going to reattempt that bomb site.
Definitely getting the impression 2 rounds in that Wildcard will be sticking to their guns in terms of taking their time in establishing control in and around the map. And then waiting for that perfect time to strike. Sinister caught off guard a little bit there. I guess you could say a little bit unfortunate for them to be losing that round in such circumstances where they basically held out for as long as they possibly could, albeit maybe a couple of milliseconds. So maybe Sinister will try and hold above a little bit longer or waste a bit more time on that entry down main stairs, because we saw that as a bit of a stall point for the majority of that round, but once Pat got that first kill, they really started to explode. That's true, and also with that time delay, you wouldn't even be able to put that down to the 20-second meta that we hear about, because there wasn't a Goyo pick. There wasn't actually that whole lot of soft utility they actually had to use soft breach on. So that wasn't really the stall out point for Wildcard. I think they just took a lot of time getting the map control they wanted. We saw Pat for a long time up on top floor, holding the rotates, and just Wildcard taking their time to drone out and push down. And at that stage, because they'd already burned 2 Hibana charges and used the Maverick gas to open the bar hatch, just didn't have much else. So I think a lot of that actually just came down to Wildcard's organization. Sinister once again doing a slight roam, but both Milo and Derpy will find themselves back in towards site. Interesting Goyo shield placement there inside of blue to make that push a little bit harder. We didn't at least see on our feed Wildcard pushing that too heavily. It was mainly down the main stairs, but it does look like Wildcard could prepare for a push on this side of the map on this occasion. Rin being droned in, Claymore placed down to cover his flank, and again Wildcard playing this quite passively. Mollusca as well, just ready and waiting. It's a bit of a standoff, I feel, for the majority of these rounds. Yeah, and I really like what Milo is doing here. He's playing it very carefully. Mind you, he's got himself in an engagement, but he's being backed up beautifully from his teammate there in blue, but he's going to be caught rotating back. Nice kill by Rin there. And as I was saying, Milo was doing a great job shooting drones and dropping back, but maybe not expecting the hot pursuit from Emo. So well played by him, giving Wildcard the man advantage now. And that's going to allow them to speed up a bit on this take. Derpy trying to get aggressive in oil pit. Keep in mind, it was Claymore. He does spot the red lasers, and Impact will be used to clear that utility. The question is, do Wildcard know that? Rin did have a drone inside a garage, so they should be well and truly aware. Ethan does come to cover. Nico gets one back onto Geo. Now it's a 4-on-4. That's great from Derpy. He hasn't even gone up the ladder, and he's focused so much attention in that direction. Again, creating another stall point for Wildcard, allowing Sinister to get that other pick to make it man advantage, or equal man, I should say. And it means that there's a lot less progress happening from Wildcard. We see Pat down at main stairs again, ready to maybe go through into Armory as Ethan finds Derpy. So it does mean Wildcard have regained that man advantage coming into the final moments of the round. Looks like Pat will rush in once again like he did in the last round. Can he get the frag? No, it's shut down. Vinny from Dirt gets him. He isn't refragged either. Diesel as well gets shut down, and now Sinister have that man advantage. Make it a 3-on-1. As Vinny gets one more, and there we go. Sinister will close out that round. A shotgun to the face of Ethan will win them that round. Sinister with a fantastic stall out, and they did a really good job in denying that rush that came out once again from Pat. Yeah, I was wondering what exactly they were going to be doing to counter that rush from Pat, seeing as he got the Ash charge off and just ran straight through. But it was actually more of a passive bait, expecting him to do so. Vinny playing in Dirt, nice and comfortably peeked out when he knew that he had the cue that he was right there. And I really liked that from Sinister. It meant that Wildcard really played into that trap. So 2-1 for Sinister means they're looking pretty good on defense so far, Guz. And I think if they can continue this, going
going to be trending towards a good half for them.
Looking good so far as we head back to CCTV and Cash. We've seen this site played once so far in this matchup
Attackers need to locate
and went in the
defuse
way
as
of
many bombs
Sinister.
as they can.
They retook the site from Wildcard, who just managed to get that plant down, but unfortunately GA left in that 1v2 was unable to win the round. So it's going to be up to them to, again, work on that time management a little bit, try and get in there a little bit earlier and give themselves a bit more of a buffer in case Sinister are able to deny that plant or delay it.
Thinking more broadly as well, thinking back to the round that Wildcard won, I mean, we talked about how close it was. It really could be a Sinister 3-0 at this stage. So it really feels like they are more so in control of the
5
match.
seconds to go.
And Wildcard, they're doing all right, but I feel like they're not coming out on top with a lot of these rounds. And if that doesn't swing back, yeah, I think Sinister can maintain that kind of control. So it will be interesting to see what Wildcard have done or planned to adapt to how Sinister held this last time. As they did get that plant down, but not securing the round.
Again, Sinister not opting to bring a whole lot of utility that needs to be cleared by soft breaches. It looks like they had one shield selected. No Goyo either. So Wildcard shouldn't have a whole lot of issues in clearing that. There might be some mute jammers from Nico that do need to be cleared out, but they shouldn't be too difficult. High charges as well can be taken out. Okay, that's of course it's Nico. Who else would it be doing that peak in 6 Masters?
Very, very Nico of Nico, huh? He's doing it with the SMG-11 as well on top of it, but not actually netting a kill from it. Derpy totally potatoing on that drone, not catching it. He sees one cross past Garage. Oh, that pre-fire just a little too early, almost catching Zofia as he rotates, but nothing happening. And just a bit of a lull at the moment while Wildcard work on their positioning and just getting some control. Pat holding a long angle into Garage as Diesel is going to be opening up this CCTV wall. Again, it's very critical to be able to do this nice and early for the attack, as Diesel has done so on that right panel, as Emo opens it fully, as that gives them entry. And half the round to play, this is probably a bit better, I'd say, guys.
Diesel very efficient with that breaching torch, making it soft nice and quickly, and we can expect a soft breacher to come and clear that if Emo Rune hasn't already. I'm tipping that wall is well and truly open by now, and Sinister will need to be careful of their rotations on site. Talking about rotations, Nico still playing below. Not sure whether he's been droned out yet, so expect him to go for a big flank later in this round.
On top of that, I feel like he might be just trying to play chill around Lounge, so he can potentially deny from below. He does see one rotate through on Garage. Derpy's been taken out elsewhere, as Nico is just trying to yeet it, but he's shut down by Diesel, which means that Wildcard will have a 2-man advantage coming towards the end of the round. Emo on a nice flank watch there. Sinister still trying to get aggressive in Lounge, and he's going to get caught off. Sinister maybe just falling into a trap, playing way too aggressive, as Wildcard are going to have a strong man advantage coming into the final 30 seconds.
Fisher Guy and Vinny need to try and hold site. Neither with great guns, really, to get multiple kills. Fisher Guy as well was holding that long angle with the SMG, which could prove challenging. Vinny, though, he gets aggressive and gets one. Oh, sees the second, but doesn't quite shoot yet. The trigger discipline is strong, but he can't quite net the kill. Fisher does eventually trade it from above, so it's a 3-on-1. Nade comes out, though, and he will be taken down. Too many for Fisher to handle, and Wildcard will even out the scoreline.
Yeah, and a nice nade there from Diesel on the Maverick. Of course, Maverick now has frag grenades. And a good round from Wildcard, definitely their best round so far. But I'd have to say also, maybe Sinister just played it poorly a little early. There was a lot of aggression out of them that we didn't see on the first time they held that. In fact, they played it quite passively the first time, which meant Wildcard, delayed a lot in taking Garage. Whereas this time they got so many picks below that they felt so comfortable taking it, and it gave them so much control. Even though the time was ticking away, they had that control, they had that man advantage. It's a much more comfortable position for them.
It's time now for round number 5. Milo potentially 6-picking onto Wamai. He sticks it, so we're going to see both him and Jaeger on the board.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Quite a bit of
defused by
utility
attackers.
that Wildcard will need to deal with. They want to try and get some throwables in towards site. Diesel in particular, as you mentioned, Maverick with grenades, will need to be careful that he doesn't waste those unnecessarily. I know Sinister in the past have done quite an interesting strategy inside a garage here, where they'll throw those Wamai magnets up on the vent on the roof, and they're super hard to take out. So we may well see this again from Molosca.
Yeah, and just highlighting the Wamai, I mean, the lineup of Sinister in general is not an easy lineup to deal with. You've got a lot of utility you're going to have to clear there because of the Goyo shields. On top of the fact there are magnets and the ADSs, and also making life hard is going to be the Kai Electroclaws and these Mute Jammers. So it's definitely geared towards a hell of a time for the attack of Wildcard. For a team very prone to stalling out, I think it's going to be quite tricky. And to that point, I really just think Sinister need to not play too aggressive too early and not give Wildcard too much, because really Sinister's advantage is going to be by stalling them out.
Marin trying to hit some one taps through the drone hole, doesn't hit anyone, unfortunately. And then we'll now progress towards the wall. Expect Wildcard once again to bring over Diesel and use that breaching torch, followed up by some soft breach. The initial drone there from Pat is shut down. A little bit risky to be droning that so early in the round, and it does get shut down. Diesel's actually over towards garage, so could see a different take here from Wildcard early in this round.
Yeah, electing to focus on this side of the garage wall with the blowtorch. Be interesting how Sinister adapt to this. Milo is trying to get aggressive here in the bottom of garage. Not seeing or hearing anything at this stage. I did hear the Maverick running into some of the electrified walls there. Some shouts coming out, but nothing dramatic. Bit of a slow push so far, guys. Really nothing major going on besides focusing on the garage wall and Wildcard just setting up some positions.
First Wildcard teams, unfortunately. For those of you who might like a lot of explosive action, Wildcard are definitely one of the more measured teams when it comes to attacking. They love to take their time, gather their intel, and go from there. Often we see later stages in the round like this where all 10 members are still up on the board. Molosca almost gets taken out, but only takes a little bit of damage. Gets aggressive on the peak, misses his shots though, and they'll still be 10 up with just over a minute left.
Yeah, either way, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Wildcard and just create some uncertainty, but he's finally taken out with a nice pinch from Wildcard, giving themselves more control as Ethan stacks on, giving them more control. Oh, Nico answers back, but doesn't find the second, which means that it's going to be a similar effect for Wildcard, but Diffuser's dropped outside by Derpy. Going to give Sinister a bit more of a chance.
Derpy, and they're going 2 and 4 so far on this map. Needs to go big here and stopping Wildcard from getting that diffuser and going for that plant. Wildcard may opt to go for frags. Derpy almost exposing himself there, so close. Emo-Rin almost had him. Reef comes out, but it doesn't hit. As that diffuser has now been picked up. Vinny, he'll rotate up the main stairs to try and aid Derpy here and holding that main wall and the Cece window. It's going to be up to Wildcard to try and flush them out. There is utility coming out in flashbangs, but Derpy, he's not blind yet. Still able to play aggressive. C4 comes out from Vinny, misses it though. Oh, this is an awkward gunfight between these two. Neither able to get out on top. But look at the time. It's almost run down. Wildcard will need to stick the plant. Geo is on that. Derpy needs to deny it, but there we go. Wildcard will shut down that rotate and take the round.
Yeah, look, I thought Sinister were actually going to be able to bring that back. Vinny finally escapes the cash stairs, which could have been his doom, but was just taken too low HP to be able to take a gunfight after that. So well played by Wildcard in the end. It looked like they had some pretty good control by around the midpoint of the round, but Sinister did almost bring it back. It means that Wildcard are going to have a 3-2 advantage now in the final round of the half, which means Sinister at best can get it to 3-3. Given the way they started their defenses, I think they'd be pretty disappointed with that.
Still plenty of time for them to bring it back. Church and Arsenal will be the final objective of this first half. We've seen this objective played twice so far tonight between these two.
Attackers need to
The record is 1 apiece, so this round could really go either way. Interested to see if Sinister again try and play more aggressive off-site. They haven't brought the castle on this occasion, so we could see them turtle back towards the bomb side just a little bit more here.
Would make a lot of sense, because again, I think they should really be creating stalls for Wildcard to fall into, as that seems to be their natural attack path, and also forcing them to utility clear. So I like that they've stuck the Goyo shield, or the Goyo pick, it's going to mean that Wildcard have to think about the use of their soft bridge, and they've got 2 nades and the impact charges from Zofia, and that's pretty much it. They do have breach charges, but they're not going to help with the shield, for example. Does mean that things will have to be spared. So it's going to come down to, again, I think if Sinister don't give Wildcard the early picks, it heavily increases their percentage win chance.
Will be challenging to clear these Goyo shields, of course. In the most recent patch, the number that Goyo possesses was reduced from 3 down to 2. But Wildcard only have the 2 nades in hand to clear those out, outside of Emo Rin with the lifeline, because of course Buck lost his grenades. Interestingly enough though, Wildcard's still sticking that pick, so I think the Skeleton Key is still proving to be a really useful utility, particularly on maps that have a lot of soft destruction.
Oh, for sure. The Skeleton Key is just too good, and the fact that it has more ammo now is incredibly helpful. You can make a lot of work on the floors with that increased ammo, and even just bringing the stuns, that allows you to burn things like the ADSs or the magnets from Omai if there was one. So he's still a very helpful operator with a lot of utility, and it's hard to overlook that.
Already past a minute now, and Wildcard continuing to work above the site. Often we would see that cleared and then a grenade come out from the Buck over to where Vinny is sitting under that hatch to clear a Kaid charge, but of course, as we just mentioned, there are no grenades on Buck anymore, so the hatch will actually be opened by the breaching torch, and now Wildcard can try and start to mount this attack.
And the adaptation here from Wildcard is that Pat is actually playing the IQ as opposed to the Ashe. We saw him play Ashe on the first 2 times that they attacked this site, and they had pretty much the same attack pattern on both of those rounds, and Sinister were able to counter it the second time. So how it changes here is going to be really interesting. They leaned on breaking in through to Arsenal with the Ashe charge, and it's not going to be an option for them.
Still 10 members up on the board with a minute to go. Expect a lot of quick trades coming out here late in the round. Lost holding blue once again, not having the greatest game in terms of the frag department. Currently going 1-5. Will find himself in a big gunfight soon as Emo Rin does drone that out. Meanwhile, Geo uses the Habana pallets to open above Armory, and they're looking pretty set now to push side, aren't they, Raven?
They are. They've got their positioning. They've got some control. Mind you, they don't have a lot of time, which is not uncommon for them.
Oh.
This is a great pixel, though, from Nico in between the shield and the ammo crate. He's going to be able to look at the head and catches him as he cooks the grenade. That was a live grenade there that could have done even more damage, but either way, this is going to be hard to deal with as Geo gets 1. Leaving it into the final 10 seconds now, guys.
Disgusting from Nico as he tries to find more. He gets 1. That's Geo taken out. Can he get more? There's 2 more in Armory. Make that 1 as it's Pat now left with it all to do. But he doesn't have the time. Sinister will take the round off the back of some very nasty plays there with the TCSG.
That was just such a naughty angle from Nico in between the shield and that ammo crate. So hard for Wildcard to be able to see from the angle that they were viewing it at. And it really was the game changer, getting that pick onto Diesel. He was about to clear that shield. It could have been all over. So the timing on that was perfect. And that closes the half out at 3-3. It's very even, and that is what I would say quite fitting for how these teams have played it out so far.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of balancing changes, the TCSG as well got a pretty significant damage reduction. So if Nico didn't hit those headshots, there would have been a real chance that he didn't net those kills. How he got that one into Geo.
It was a nice shot.
That is disgusting. Wowee. Geo probably saw him for like a split second and then poof. Good night.
Yep, very nice shots from Nico there. That was really setting it up for Sinister to take the round. Wildcard on defense now are going to be starting off in the CCTV cache, as did Sinister. See what they've got up their sleeve. They're bringing a castle, which isn't as common on this bomb site as it would be for, say, Church. So I am interested to see where these castle barricades get placed.
Wildcard potentially bringing out something new here, which is something that we mentioned earlier they might have to do because of this map being quite strong historically for Sinister. Diesel using 1 in stock. Didn't quite see where the first one was. Either way, that looks like Wildcard maybe trying to hold below quite heavily.
Yeah, it really looks like they're using it to enable them to extend their hold to below to be a bit more comfortable. Whether it works out that way, I guess it's going to depend on how Sinister decide to attack this. And if they've droned that out, they might be able to read into the fact that that is what Wildcard's doing. Wave Vinny coming from the west side of the map on the IQ. He's just going to scan out and try and find some intel, get the gadget placements for his team and figure out what they're going to do. But it looks like priority one is, of course, going to be to open the CCTV wall.
Soft breach being used by Nico. Now Derpy will be able to just open it straight away. Smoke will delay that for a little bit. Of course, Ethan only has a limited supply. Derpy just chilling out, waiting for that smoke to dissipate. So Ethan will prepare one more, his final one in his inventory. Not going to blow it just yet. Derpy still yet to Maverick below the wall, and there we go. The final one comes out. But after this, Sinister should be clear to open that wall and begin to pressure those wildcard members inside.
Not too bad time management from Sinister as well. Granted that once this is open, they'll have around half the round to go. And one thing I really like that Sinister did is they pre-opened the soft part of the wall. It was something we didn't see Wildcard do, which meant that it stalled out one of the other attackers for Wildcard for a while, waiting for it to be openable. But now it's wide open. They can go straight into it. It's giving Sinister a lot of time. And Derpy, most importantly, has actually been taken quite low from those smoke babes, and that could come back to bite them.
Derpy actually having a couple of issues there. A little bit of the reinforced wall was still attached there at the very end. Potentially a little bit lucky not to be shot as he went for that. But either way, he does get away with his life, albeit, as you mentioned, there's some compromised HP. Oh, Nico just missing those shots there. Pat manages to scathe away and gets one. They're buddy up now with Diesel as Geo gets one too. Now it's a 5v3.
And so letting Wildcard get away with that is going to be haunting them for days. Milo does get an answer, but it's not leaving Sinister a whole lot of time to finish off their execute. And also Diesel still has control of bottom garage. He is finally ended by Milo, making it a 3 versus 3, but only 30 seconds to go. Means that Sinister are going to have to get their skates on. They're going to have to deal with some really tough positions that Wildcard is still holding.
Geo gets his double for the round, leaving it up to Derpy and Milo. Milo on fire this round, gets his triple, but he has the diffuser in hand. He needs to make his way in towards site, or at least try and frag out these remaining defenders. There's one on Catwalk, that's Geo. He gets his third for the round as well, and now Milo needs to get two, and a couple of seconds to go. It's not looking promising. He doesn't quite get the first. Wouldn't have had the second anyway. A Wildcard will take that round.
It come down to a 2v2, so a relatively close round. It looked like it was going to be all Wildcard when they got those first two entry picks, but obviously Sinister to bring it back. But one thing I will question is, I'm not too sure why such a late rotate to take the Catwalk was what they decided to do. I think it was Derpy that was still out on the Kennel's wall. 15 seconds to go. Maybe they could have orchestrated some kind of pinch onto that Catwalk position. And even if they traded it out, maybe Milo would have then had a little more time to take the last gunfight. But instead, he rotated around to garage. They both pushed garage, and Milo directly below the opponent wasn't really able to get the refrag or trade it. So I think maybe some bad decisions were made by Sinister at the end of that round. And it means Wildcard's going to inch ahead now. They're up 4-3.
We do know that Molosca, at least to the best of our knowledge, is the IGL, or the primary shot caller for Sinister. And the fact that he was alive probably meant that he had a quick word to Derp, said, hey, buddy up with me, we'll go garage. And as you mentioned, maybe a pinch would have been a little bit more effective. Either way, though, the round isn't theirs. Wildcard taking that one, and they'll head downstairs for the next. We haven't seen Bedroom played at all yet, so it's just been a cash and church affair so far.
Yeah, no bedroom play, and just came down to the way that the wins and losses came out on those bomb sites. But curious to see what Wildcard decide to do here. Looks like they're implementing the classic roam strat that we've seen a lot on Church. And also going to be interesting to see how Sinister push it, because there seems to be two meta ways you could say. It's either the roam clear, or you try to ignore it as much as possible, and maybe you take really simple control. So down blue and oil pit, clear those positions out, take dirt, and then you can try and clear out Arsenal while ignoring the roam and cutting some rotates. But that can, of course, have its own risks.
Jammer initiated.
quite a bit of utility invested above. Ethan in particular placing several jammers to try and delay the entry and the intel gathering here for Team Sinister, who are trying to clear out these players from above. Nice control established so far from Fisho. Milo attempting to drone him in, but those jammers causing potentially some issues in gaining that critical intel for the entry. Oh, and he missed that Barna trick as well. That might not blow the wall completely. It might just. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see whether that really did bug out or not. But either way, Vinny has actually made his way into the strip hallway. Aiming towards Billiard, seems pretty aware that Vigil is on the other side. That is Pat. Could actually be wallbanged. If he activates his ability right now, it would be all over for Pat, but he's gonna slip away. And actually, he's gonna catch Vinny off guard. He's hard left of that doorway, and Vinny potentially completely unaware of that. Could catch it on the gadget. Again, this is going to come down to whether Pat activates this ability or not.
Pat may have heard his gun before and will not activate his ability. Instead, though, he gets aggressive. Somehow, he isn't shut down. He gets away with the kill and now can make his way over towards Strip and cause more issues for these remaining attackers. Unfortunate there for Vinny. The timing not quite going his way.
Speaking of time, Sinister have invested so much time into clear this room. They finally have that top floor control, but they haven't given themselves a whole lot extra to start that push on the side and get control. And of course, they still have to deal with Pat here in Strip. It's going to be Fisher Guy on the hunt. He's going to be the first one to face it. And he's maybe not sure he's around the corner. Thankfully, he's low HP. Finally finished off, but 50 seconds to go means Sinister have a lot in front of them.
4 versus 4, 44 seconds left. That was a terrible joke. But you know what isn't a joke? This defense from Wildcard, they're playing so passively at the moment, just trying to bait in these Sinister attackers. Keep an eye on Molosca, he has the diffuser in hand. Once again on the Habana. Looking now to get the kitchen hatch open. That's the last of his palace. If these ones get disrupted, he will not be able to open it. And they are. Him dropped as well. Nico will res him though. No one there to finish him off. Now they're basically going to be forced down the main stairs or drop any of the hatches that have been opened, but Wildcard is seemingly just denying it. Leaving it up to Molosca, who was resed once, now low on HP. Makes his way inside a church, but he can't find anyone to greet him. And Wildcard will take 2 straight.
Did come down to a 2v1, but of course that time really went against Sinister, and it meant with that kitchen hatch when it got impact tricked, unfortunately Milo did get downed by that impact grenade, but it also meant he had no chance to potentially reattempt it. I didn't check whether he had Habana pellets to reattempt it, but regardless, there was no time for it either way. It meant that they just had to yeet it down Moto hatch and down main stairs, and Wildcard were expecting that, so a really well executed defense from Wildcard. Only losing one on that roam, and that was Pat, who ended up in Strip, burning off 2 minutes of time. That's really well played from them.
We are going to finally see Jim and Bedroom here in round number 9. Wildcard opting to bring a lot of utility that Sinister will need to clear. We've got Pat on the Goyo, so that's 2 shields. Diesel with 4 jammers, and then of course we have projectile denial from both Ethan and Geo. So Sinister have a lot to balance this round, a lot to clear before they can even think about getting in towards side and attempting a plan.
Definitely going to come down to some well-organized planning in terms of how they dole out their utility and how Wildcard hold. It looks like it's going to be the classic hold of cash, which means it's going to be really tough for Sinister to take control of that. And the investment that's happening here from Wildcard.
5 seconds left before insertion. Attacker's objective is to locate
Geo currently going 9 and 3 there on the Mamai, been a solid map for him so far, and I think it's safe to say that his transition here into this team has been quite strong as well, performing quite well, and I think it's fitting quite nicely with this roster.
So far, so good. Looks like Vinny is again coming from the west side of Clubhouse here.
bomb located by
Not
attackers.
prioritizing opening the jacuzzi wall at this stage. Looks like they are going to really just hard push into that CCTV roam, which is going to take up a lot of that utility, and by the time they get to side, they might not have a whole lot left to deal with things like the Goyo shields. or even the magnets, depending where they've been placed, or how many have accumulated that Geo will use later. These are all things that Sinister will have to consider with this investment of utility to take this map control.
Drones coming out from Sinister as they try and locate. Somehow said the two words combined. Because they're looking for two things. They're looking for enemies, and they're also, again, looking for that utility to try and work out exactly how they will counter that. Fisher guy as well, trying to watch any rotations on the main stairs. Uses one lifeline. There is a player inside of a Logi to his left. But he doesn't see him, of course. They don't have the ability to see through the walls that we do. They need to use those drones, as I mentioned earlier. They need to use those drones to find that intel. Yes, you would hope not.
I like that Sinister have now finally got this jacuzzi wall open. They've still got half the round. And actually, they've really worked it with utility well to clear that Goya shield nice and early with the Zofia. It was really well played. And now they're stacked on this side. I don't believe they've really hard pushing that CC. Fisho is actually the one that dies over there, though, to the hand of Ethan. But that's a nice refrag on a long angle from Derpy onto his old teammate. 4 versus 4 with a minute to go. And Sinister do have a bit of control, so this could be a tight finish to this round.
Pat still inside of Logi. His rotation is cut off as Geo's dropped. So that's one member off site, but they need to worry about less. Diesel trying to reclaim that position as they're just falling apart. Diesel now somehow left in a 1-on-4. He's going to attempt the res here onto Geo to make it potentially winnable, but the diffuser goes down. The intel has been taken down as well by Sinister, forcing Geo and Diesel to basically enter the site blind for the retake. Diesel worried that there could be a player below, takes out a drone watching that flank. Surely someone was watching that and they know where they're coming from. That's one taken down. And now Diesel will need to hit 3. Sees the first, but doesn't land any shots. Gets aggressive on the second and will get it. But the trade from Sinister is basically spot on. And they'll take the 9th round.
It was a really great attack from Sinister as well. The only utility they ended up investing on that CC side was to get the kennels wall open to help cut that position. And I mean, it was Fisher that actually died from that, but it was refragged straight away. And then they had tabs on it. We saw Geo get downed over there. And the rest of the utility was put into the actual push on the site. And that worked out perfectly. They cleared those shields early. They were able to then work themselves towards site and get the picks. And then they had all the control. I really liked that from Sinister. And I like that Wildcard are not going to do it again because it really looked like they were hard counted.
CCTV and cash will be the site here. Montaigne coming out from Fisho Guy in the 6th pick phase. Of course, if this is your first time maybe even watching competitive Siege, the 6th pick phase allows either team to swap out one operator for another blindly. The team will not, or your opponent will not know that you have swapped out that operator. So until Wildcard physically see that Montaigne on the map, they will not know that they are bringing him, which can, of course, throw you off as a defense a little bit when you see a big mountain walking towards you at the start of a round.
Yeah, Montaigne's going to be pretty effective in assisting this push, you would think, for Sinister. He is essentially the walking intel. Can help a lot with taking Garage. That's traditionally how you would see the Montaigne implemented into attacking this bomb site, is he can assist the push-up Catwalk stairs and in through Garage. You can have his back against the south wall of Garage as you approach, and call out the positions of Catwalk, window, even Lounge if there's somebody peeking there. I assume that's how Sinister will probably try to use it, and we'll see whether it can be effective or not.
And I think outside of really the smoke, which is primarily being used to delay the entry into the main wall, as we can already see, they don't have any trap operators. There's no Legion on the board. So effectively, Fisho should be able to just walk straight up that Catwalk without too many worries. It's going to be super hard to take him out if they manage to go for that, and Wildcard need to be careful of that.
Yeah, and that's worth pointing out. That's a great use of the 6-pick strategy. It's not something that Wildcard would have seen coming. Sinister haven't indicated at all they were ever going to bring a Montaigne. So that's really well played from them. And if they can be efficient enough here with getting the CCTV wall open, it's going to really set themselves up to get that map control and be able to put together a really nice execute.
A lot of intel being gathered on the bedroom side of the map. Sinister, I think, are quite satisfied it is cleared. We can actually see a rover though, all the way downstairs, somewhere in towards bar. Maybe worry that there's someone there. Either way though, Derpy kills himself with a grenade. That is quite unfortunate. Either way though, Fisho guys already causing some issues here inside of A, trying to slow down any sort of hurt that will be felt from that early death. Molly getting the wall open as well on Thermite. So definitely an unconventional use of that Montang so far.
Yeah, a bit different to what we've normally seen, but I like what Ethan did coming over. Just instead of to contest it, the Montaigne, just shooting the holes in front of the door. So if the Montaigne wants to aggress forward, they have to be sure that the stock room below is cleared.
Frags though are coming out now in favor of Sinister. Fisho, as he tries to get in towards site, is getting lit up by that wall. That is still electrified. He does have the diffuser in hand, so they need to be careful that they cover him when they attempt this plant. As we mentioned, those holes could be massive. Pat playing below, fully aware that Montang is there. I think Fisho's seen him though. The ping does come out, so they are aware of the player below. Sinister with the intel here, but can they get that execute on towards site?
Yeah, that's going to be key in how they deal with those positions. Nico has been lost now, so it is a 3 versus 3 and 30 seconds to go. Not as much time to deal with things as Fisho's actually gone deep on site now. He's going to be drawing a lot of attention as Geo finds a double, but it means that he's got Diffuser and he's got 3 to find here, Guz, and it's not going to happen as Wildcard close that round out.
The Montang pick there for Sinister, not quite working out, despite not really having any traps to shut that shield down. They were able to basically secure all the other frags. And once you're left in a 3v1 on Montang, there's not much you can really do besides stand there and extend your shield. So well played by Wildcard, and Raven, that gives them match point now, 6-4 up.
It does, but of course that doesn't mean that it's all over for Sinister. If they get 2 rounds, we will get to see overtime. So it's only 2 rounds, and it's definitely achievable considering how Sinister have played so far. They haven't been able to string together multiple rounds on attack, but they've still had some pretty decent attacks. A couple of them being very close. And even that last attack looked pretty good until they just started bleeding operators into the final minute. But they had some really good map control there in construction. And they only got stalled out by a couple of small things that really, if they got a little bit more organized, they could have countered to secure themselves that round.
I think it's still safe to say that this performance from Sinister against what you could probably claim to be an A-class ANZ team has definitely been better than what we came to expect in that first half of Pro League Season 11. And we haven't really had them go up against a team of this caliber yet. So this first map does give a decent indication so far as what we can expect. And so far, I think they can definitely take some positives out of this matchup. Sinister looking a lot better than they had previously, particularly against some of these better teams.
Yeah, it is feeling more like the Sinister of the second half of the Pro League than the first, which is the really important thing here. They feel like they're pretty in touch with this match. There's just been a couple of rounds that have not gone their way. Some really close rounds. We talked about it in the first 3 rounds when they were on defense. There was one there, it was the absolute final microsecond where Ethan got that headshot to win Wildcard around. It could have easily been Sinister's. So this could have easily been 5-5 if you want to go down that path. But either way, it's, from what I would say so far, a pass mark for Sinister, given the form that they had at the end of Pro League.
Derpy once again on the Maverick. 2 frag grenades in hand, and he'll be hoping that he doesn't end his life with his own grenade this round. He did it last round. Didn't exactly help Sinister's chances in attacking the site.
Yeah.
But that's long gone. I think it's really important as a competitive player to move on from those mistakes, or definitely haunt you and affect your future results. With Vinny with a team kill onto Nico, and that's 2 big frags for Sinister going against them from their own mistakes, and Ethan cleans up 1 as well. Vinny does get aggressive inside of bedroom to try and refrag these, but he doesn't see the player rotate out of bathroom. Hits the second one though. Emo Rin completely shut down. Does he know the other? No, that's Pat running around and refragging that one, leaving it up to Milo and Derp. Just under half the round to go.
Yeah, and Derp just on main stairs, totally let that Vigil rotate straight back to site. Don't wonder whether Vinny would have called out that the Vigil was rotating. Derpy could have cut that off. Could have been a 2 versus 2, but not to be. Diesel's in a wacky position there, and Arsenal holding the bullet hole in towards Moto, and he is going to catch Derpy off guard. That means it's all up to Milo now, guys, to save the map for Sinister. It's 6-4, which means losing this round will be a loss of this map.
I know Milo prides himself in the aim trainers, but he's going to have to find 3 in this round. Add on top of that, the pressure of losing this means they'll be 1-0 down in the series. That impact grenade will take a little bit of health. The wallbang as well will take even more, and now he's forced to go in towards site. Surely the pinch will come out from Wildcard. It does, and they will take your first map here in Six Masters 2020.
It was a good map from Wildcard in the end. It was really close in the first half when Sinister on the defense, and even a couple of those attacks were neck and neck, but Wildcard proving very strong, and they're looking pretty good with their new roster so far. Sinister not the pushover they used to be, so this is a good result for them.
Definitely a solid result for both teams. I think it sets up again for what is going to be a really close series. I definitely still back my prediction going into this that we could see one map go to either team, especially with a big theme park. That is such a big unknown. We have no idea how these teams are going to try and approach that. And if it's anything like Clubhouse, it's going to be exciting.
I am so excited for theme park because we haven't really seen much of it before in our region, and we don't know what kind of strats the teams here have developed. Of course, there may be some influence from the international meta or the teams that have played it overseas, but regardless, these teams aren't going to be aware of which strategies the other teams are pulling out, and I think it's hard to say who that favors. Wildcard are great strategists in their own right, but Sinister have proven in recent history to be also really great at pulling out neat strats, and they're generally an unpredictable team with their playstyle. I think that can be tricky for Wildcard to handle.
Yeah, and I think one thing that maybe many people have the idea of, or maybe even a misconception you could phrase it as going into theme park, is that it's heavily defender-sided and it can be really hard to mount attacks and executes. Well, firstly, is that true, do you think? And secondly, do you think that that could hamper Wildcard's playstyle? Because they're on Clubhouse, we saw them time and time again on their attacks, really setting up, and on occasion it did cost them.
I would say at pro level, it hasn't really been the case. I haven't compiled recent statistics, but of the theme park matches I've watched, it's been either even halves in terms of the attack and defenses, or I've even watched a few where it's been more attacker-sided, where attack halves were going 4-2. So I think at the pro level, it's not as defender-sided as people think, and I would say maps trend that direction anyway as teams get more used to them. We've seen that before. Villa was, for a while, really defender-sided, but of more recent history, it started to swing back the other way, at least a little bit, or even out a little bit. I think theme park is just like that.
And I think something else to mention coming out of that first map and heading into the second is Ying, because we saw her banned out by Team Sinister there. Are we expecting her to maybe get through here on this second map? Because we know, of course, that recently she was buffed. She is quite strong, you could argue, of course, with the Candelas and the smokes. Is that going to make life easier for the theme park attackers? Do you think they're going to try and bring her in?
Definitely can help a lot. I mean, for example, with the Armory Throne Room, you can use the Ying charges like fuse charges, right? So if you get office control, you can just chuck a Candela on the floor there. If there's any utility like ADSs, magnets, that kind of thing, that will get cleared by those flashes as it goes off, and that's a pretty safe bet. So it could make an impact, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Wildcard just banned it out again, not wanting to deal with it.
Well, Wildcard will take the first map in this best of 2 series, 7-4 against Team Sinister. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back for map number 2 in just a second.
Attackers are activating the bomb. Seconds to go. Attackers bomb. Bomb located by attackers.
Are you like Caden, who loves to make the most of the slow loading times of his HDD?
Look above your head at the moonlit sky. The stardust drifts and shines brightly in your eye. So baby, stay with me where the sun doesn't go down, and we will drift away until the day the world stops spinning. Oh, baby. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, the stardust falls around us, entwining us. So baby, stay with me where the sun doesn't go down, and we will drift away until the day the world stops spinning, 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 until the day the world stops spinning.
G'day there, g'day there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. It's great to have you here. I'm Guz. Joining me is Raven, and we're coming off the back of a pretty interesting match between Cinestyle and Wildcard. The first map going in favor of Wildcard 7-4, but it's best of two format, so we'll see him duke it out on Theme Park next.
That we will, and it was a close first map. I mean, it was 7-4 in the end, but a lot of those rounds came down to the wire. So it could have gone the other way. Sinister could have brought that back. We might have seen something a bit different, but regardless, Wildcard took it, and it means that the onus is now on Sinister to draw the series by winning map number 2. And as you said, it is on Theme Park, and we were talking about it before the break. We're really excited to see how this is going to play out.
Well, make sure you guys stay up to date with all the action in Six Masters by following at Rainbow6ANZ on all of your favorite social medias. Of course, you can participate in the polls, and heading into this one, Raven, it was Wildcard that edged out in the community poll. What can we expect? Are they going to continue that form and win this second map, and in doing so, win the series?
Good question. I mean, they look pretty good on Clubhouse, and considering how Cinestyle are on Clubhouse, they've previously had a lot of map wins against strong opponents, or even drawing against Wildcard last time they played, although there was a different lineup. That's a good result from Wildcard, so they can bring some confidence into map 2. But really, just the fact that it's theme park makes it really hard to judge. We don't know whether theme park could be hard for Wildcard to deal with. It wasn't their map pick, it was actually Sinister's map pick. Or actually, am I doing that the wrong way around? I don't know. Either way, I think it's going to be really unpredictable. It was Sinister's map pick. So I think it's going to be unpredictable in how that affects their gameplay.
Yeah, and as we keep alluding to, it's a lot of unknowns. Of course, Theme Park came in for the second half of Season 11 of Pro League. But in ANZ, we saw it played 0 times. No one wanted to go there. It was often banned in the first or second wave. So this is new ground for these top teams in ANZ. So I think it's going to set a great precedent for what we can expect in this region on this map.
Yeah, and we've seen it internationally a little bit. So there are some established strats, you could say, outside of ranked that these teams can draw from. And of course, they've probably been working on it in the background. I know of a few Pro League teams that have, been playing around with Theme Park, and we've been waiting for it to pop up, seeing who is going to choose it first. And we will finally get to see it, and we'll finally have a bit of a precedent set in our region on how it plays out.
I think that raises an interesting discussion point. As a new team jumping into what is basically a brand new map to play competitively, where do you even start? How do you go about trying to create these strategies and trying to review how other teams are approaching this map?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially if you haven't seen it played by other teams. So it is fortunate that international teams have played it a little bit. But other than that, it's just about going into custom games, mucking about for hours on end about strats that you feel like might work out, finding angles, finding neat ways to use shields, where to put your reinforcements, all that kind of jazz. And that takes a lot of time, and then stress testing it in scrims. Sometimes it's really hard to know whether it will work in a competitive. You just have to decide, you know what, let's just give it a try and see how it goes.
Well, as I mentioned, the analysts at home, had a say on who you thought was going to take this series. Let's recap the poll result and see exactly the percentages on who the community thought would take this series. It was Wildcard edging out with 63%. Let's look our eyes on the draw, though, because that's the other result that is still on the cards. 13% thinking that may have been the possibility here, and I'm still kind of leaning towards that. But it's just so hard to say on a map that's so fresh.
Yeah, it does give that massive essence of unpredictability. I think a draw is definitely possible. But you guys were right. Look, Wildcard took the first map, and it was a good result for them against a strong Sinister on one of their strongest maps. So they can carry that confidence through to Theme Park. And if they've stratted it well and Wildcard can be organized against some of the stuff that Sinister might pull out against them, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to close out the series, but I'm sure we're going to have a lot of surprises on Theme Park.
So do you think it's safe to say that maybe Sinister do have that edge if they've picked this map? Because we know that they've had that time to put it in, and the map veto has allowed them to select it. So are they going to bring something fresh here that Wildcard aren't expecting?
You'd think so. There's got to be something there for them to choose the map in such an important match. So we're about to find out, guys.
Yes, we are. Let's jump straight into the ban phase. Theme Park, of course, is the map, and Sinister will be starting out on the attack. That gives the first ban to Wildcard, and it will be the Ying. So no Ying play between these two this evening.
Yeah, Wildcard really are a team that more frequently bans just things they don't want to deal with. And we saw them ban out the Ying on Clubhouse. Not too surprised they've decided to carry that forward to Theme Park. On top of that, Sinister have also banned out Thatcher, so we're seeing exact bans we saw on Clubhouse. And that's a really big impact on Theme Park, because some of these walls can be really tricky to open if you haven't got the utility to do so. And Thatcher is obviously the biggest help for that. It means we are going to see more Maverick play, maybe even some Kali. Let's see.
Valkyrie as well being taken off the board, so that is one deviation from the bans on the last map in this series. Mirror as well will be a point of difference rounding out the bans. Let's get into this. I'm a little bit nervous, Raven. Not gonna lie, I don't know how good my callouts are on this map. They should be good. I've, played a bit of ranked and run around a bit to try and learn them, but now it's time to put that knowledge to the test.
That's right. We'll feel our way through it just as these teams will as well. And it's Wildcard starting on the defense. So a lot of people will say that favors them. And I'm not going to say that. I'm going to reserve judgment because I've seen some pretty even theme park matches played out in other regions. So who's to say that's not going to be the case here? Bunk Daycare, the first bomb site though, kind of surprised. I think the highest win percentage so far in other regions has been on Throne and Armory, although it hasn't been picked as often. Wildcard changing it up there.
Very, very interested to see how well or ill prepared these teams are going to be. Fisho as well will be on the Montang. We saw him 6-pick that in one of the previous rounds over on Clubhouse. On this occasion,
locate and defuse as many bombs
he has been selected in the reveal phase, so Wildcard will be expecting it.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited to see the strats that they've employed here. We're seeing a nice rotate already made into initiation, so they're going to extend this hole out into initiation.
Office.
Contest at control. No, this is office. I'm talking about initiation there because there was a rotate hole there. But regardless, they are extending their hold. What we've seen a lot of is just reinforcing those walls, especially with the Thatcher ban. It means that it's going to be hard to actually open initiation wall if it was fully reinforced. But it's not something they're going to have to worry about. In fact, it's going to be the control wall that they're going to have to open.
Ooh. Flexing your map knowledge, Raven. I like it. I like it. Very eager to jump into this one. Sinister will need to try and find a fault in this defense. They want to win this round. I wonder what the approach from them is going to be, especially with that Montang on the board. Fisho could even really be used, I guess, to walk straight through control and make his way to that rotate nice and quickly. Which Wildcard have left exposed?
Yeah, he could, there's only a shield in his way, really, so he could bait that out nice and early, or they could just clear it with their utility nice and early if that's what they want to invest it into. And that could be a really great way to gain control. Vinny's already, in fact, taken top of Dragon Stairs. They're droning that out really early there. Fully aware of the Goyo playing the position and the shield. Nice way to burn the ADSs there. Vinny using those flash grenades and flashing himself. A lot of pressure already been put on.
Here's Fisho inside of the showers here. Diffuser in hand as well. Teaming up with Nico to try and get a push going maybe in towards office or waiting. One of those shields being taken down earlier. It wasn't a Goyo shield, of course, no flame there. Those Goyo shields likely still placed around the map. Diesel with a nice angle here with the TCSG alongside the rest of his team. They are fully aware that Sinister are pushing from here and are in a great position to deny those entries.
Yeah, and there's a lot of team play coming out of Wildcard. 2 players peeking the double door and waiting to contest the aggressing positions from these attackers. Means it's not going to be as comfortable at C4 coming over, but not doing too much damage to Fisher Guy. There is still this shield in his way that he's going to have to be careful of, because if it is a Goyo shield, back away. He's just going to get right up into the face of this smoke, trying to bait something out. There's a lot of backup behind him as well, which means that Wildcard are hard contesting this push from these attackers. Fisho has found himself in a tricky to do it position. He's just going to have to turtle into the corner.
Oh no! Oh, Fisho, does he get one? Not quite. Can he get the second? Oh, he doesn't hit him either, unfortunately. He is taken down, leaving it up to Nico and Milo. 45 seconds left on the board. Diffuser down as well inside of initiation. Make that just Milo now as Diesel gets his triple for this round. There is a player here inside of initiation. Milo, is he aware? I don't think he is. He gets one, sees the second and gets him as well. And just like that, this round definitely winnable. The 5.56 here. Fantastic weapon. Gets lit up as he tries to throw out that drone, which also gets destroyed. 20 seconds left now. Basically forced to frag it out. Very small chance he'll get the plant down. He has 2 flashes to play with. Uses 1 for the entry. Pops it, but gets taken down by Pat. And Wildcard will take round number 1.
It was a real hard contest there through the middle of the map in initiation, waiting, and office. And Wildcard came out on top of that. Milo did almost bring it back, but either way, that really just looked strong for Wildcard. Fisho, I don't know, he had a great push into initiation, but maybe just not quite getting the backup needed. It was due to those positions being played from Wildcard aggressively and waiting. So that's a good start to the defense from Wildcard. I'm going to see them go to Armory Throne, which I was talking about earlier, having the highest percentage win so far from what I've seen in international play.
Of course, for many of the folks watching at home, Armory and Throne Room, typically the primary side of choice for defenders. Quite strong in the way that you can turtle in on the site, but expect competitive players to expand it or at least try and limit the damage that can be done from above, because there is quite a bit of verticality that can be achieved, particularly above the A-bomb site. So expect players like maybe Vinny or Nico with that soft breach to go above and try and disrupt any of the members that are playing on site.
Going to be interesting too to see whether Wildcard hard contest that roam, whether they are going to play it vertically or whether they will spread out below. It looks like they're investing some utility up here, so roam looks likely, and that means that Sinister are going to have to be really careful because there's going to be a lot of utility expended just to get this control. They're going to have to use that sledge to open in towards the armory bomb site, but they still have to get the yellow wall open. It's all time consuming. It's going to be an onus on Sinister to be efficient.
I think time has definitely been a factor consistent across most of these rounds between Sinister and Wildcard this evening. A lot of them being time bound, particularly on the Wildcard attacks, but for both teams really it has been a point of difference. Fisho looking to get aggressive quite early in this round once again on that Montang, but Wildcard have brought a lesion, so those goo mines will definitely slow down Fisho's progression.
Yeah, and Sinister persisting with this Montaigne isn't something we've really seen a lot of from them before. And it hasn't worked out to massive success at this stage. That's a really early pick onto Sinister. Derpy on the Nomad, which means that not a lot of flank watch is going to be assisted from the air jabs. Gonna make it a bit difficult late round for Sinister.
Blind entry there from Vinny will cost him his life. Geo just allowed to rotate down yellow. Quite a costly endeavor there from the Ash. Nonetheless, there's still 3 members up for this attack. Fisho still holding that diffuser. 2 smokes as well, which could come in handy later. But expect Nico now to try and get in towards office once he knows it's clear, and he can then begin to disrupt below. We see Diesel, for example, who could be disrupted on the A-bomb side, and even Pat. So definitely some potential here as Geo actually going for a flank, so a lot to keep an eye on at the moment.
Yeah, and Pat's got the C4 as well, so if the sledge starts making some work on the roof, it could be an easy pick for Pat if he can read the sound of the feet properly. So he's going to start potentially renovating now, and this will be a telltale sign on how this round could play out. The 3 versus 4 though, guys, with 100 minutes to go. It's going to be pretty hard for Sinister to push on the side, but they do still have the Montaigne up. Could assist getting in through a doorway.
Well, Oscar trying to find a pick inside of maintenance. Fisho maybe seeing his shoulder there to give the call, not too sure, as Nico now try to regroup with his teammates. As Gumayzo will slow down the shield. Milo trying to pinch this player potentially. Will he be able to? He misses the shots and Geo makes him pay with his triple. Fortunately, Fisho unable to follow that up. Nico gets taken down, and Geo could well and truly be on for the ace here on the Legion. He needs to find one more here. It's Fisho at the bottom of Dragon. Can he do it? Yes, he will. Geo will get the first ace of Six Masters 2020, and I think he'll be pretty happy with that one.
They just could not keep track of where Geo was going. He was all over the place, getting his opening picks from over on the office side, rotating down the hatch or down yellow stairs, and then looping all the way back around to maintenance, really baiting that Montaigne in as well with the goo mines. Fantastic played round from him, and Wildcard in general, just able to get away with too much. There were 2 down players that were never capitalized on. It was the Mute and the Echo. So Sinister close, but then just ran over the top of by Geo, basically. And it means that we could be seeing a sweep of sites here. Wildcard are going to move on to initiation office. So far, Sinister have struggled a bit with their attacks.
Initiation on office will be the tertiary
Attackers need to
site of
locate and
choice
defuse
here
bombs.
for Wildcard, opting not to go over towards Drug Lab. Of course, being the fourth bomb site on this map. Wildcard seem to be sticking to their guns with quite a bit of utility clearing, not opting though to bring the Legion on this occasion, despite Sinister once again sticking the Monte.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure it's worked out to much success. I mean, he got one down and a kill in the first round, but that was at high cost because his teammates had to try back him up, and they kind of walked into a trap. And second round, it didn't really have much of an impact. So I don't know. We'll see whether it works out for them. Maybe they'll get a round off it, or maybe there's just something else that we're unaware of that's going wrong for them that they feel like they can fix and make it work.
Sinister need to try and find a weakness here in this Wildcard defense. As you mentioned, it seemed to just be falling into traps so far here on Theme Park. A map that many would say is heavily defender-sided, but again, the data on that is quite limited. It's only been in the pool for a pretty short period of time for competitive play. And then I think the strats and the approach that teams take for this map will only continue to evolve, like we've seen on every other map.
Absolutely. Cheeky late jammer placements there from Emo, or maybe just moving them mid-round means that Sinister could be losing extra drones and of course struggling to get that wall open. There is no Thatcher, and they haven't brought anything else to really clear that utility easily at least. So if they're going to be using a Thermite Breach in towards initiation, be a bit of a struggle. Some aggressive pushing here from Nico. Almost gets the shot into initiation, but actually takes a lot more damage himself. In fact, all of the damage in that engagement, so not really rewarded at all. Lucky to not be punished for it.
That is an interesting pre-rip C4 from Pat. He'll be able to yeet that over the wall in front of him, and the soft wall that has been breached. That could be massive if Nico rotates back in towards Cash. Milo as well needs to be careful now, and even Fisho. This could be very big from Pat, or at least do a lot of damage. C4s, of course, now being quite effective, but he is forced off it as the shield does push forward. Will tease it. Pat playing so patiently here. When will he throw it? It comes out. Will he get the kill? Yes, he will. Malop taken down as he places down that charge. I think that might be by the end of this round for Sinister already.
That's going to make it very tough for them. I mean, they're not going to get any critical walls open, so the only angles available are going to be through the doorways. That's a bit of a trap in itself. Ethan, nice peek in front of the Montaigne shield. Is refrag, but actually not finished off, so he's only down. So that makes it still a 5 versus 2. As Derpy actually gets a double, kind of doable because one of them's down. It's essentially a 2 versus 2, guys, and 30 seconds to go. Kind of possible.
And he does take down Eden, who is likely giving calls, doesn't quite get the second, and he will pay the price. And now Derpy will need to find another 2 in this round. Diesel and Pat left to try and hold that diffuser, which has been dropped over towards the showers, and it looks like Derpy basically going in blind here, head checking a lot of these angles. Wildcard playing so patiently, they know they have time on their side, as Derpy will now be forced to stick this plan. He fakes it though. Wildcard fully aware of the fact, and they will take 3 rounds straight. Sinister having some real issues in trying to disrupt these traps that are being set by Wildcard.
Yeah, they really are struggling to gain some really solid map control. They're trying to push aggressively, and I like the hustle, but it's not being rewarded. No, there's no success there. And the Montaigne, I still don't think is really working out that much, because he even got the intel on that C4 that ended up being the end of Milo, but it didn't really help them in that situation at all, when it kind of should have. He should have called out, hey, there's a guy here. He's got a C4 in his hand. Maybe he's trying to C4 where you're trying to thermite. But that didn't happen at all. So I'm hoping it gets 6-peaked here, and looks like it is going to be 6-peaked.
Fisho opting to go onto Zephyr. And I do find it a little bit interesting that of all the players on Sinister, it was Fisho guy assigned to that shield. I guess you could argue that Monty is, in some respects, sort of an entry player, but I don't feel as if playing Monty really lets him shine his true mechanical skill, Fisho being quite gifted with his aim. So I think, they tested it. It didn't quite work. Put him on the Zofia now. Allow him to clear some more of these traps that are being set by Wildcard. Give him a higher chance of getting some entry picks. That could shift the tide for them for the rest of this first half.
Another thing that's going to help Cinestyle is that they've now seen Wildcard's primary 3 bomb sites for this map and how they play it out. And Wildcard might have some adjustments to make, but generally the total strategy depth isn't there on such a fresh map, and maybe Wildcard aren't fully prepared for it. Of course, they've got some strat. Maybe they don't have that depth otherwise. So you would think that Sinister then now know how to counter it, and they can execute on that, and hopefully that is what we see.
Of course, it will be Molosca really primarily trying to drive the direction of his team for the rest of this half. Once again, sticking the Thermite. Very interesting transition for Milo. He really entered the competitive siege scene as an entry fragger, playing roles like Ash and Jaeger. But then he's transitioned to more of this IGL role, playing heavy support for the most part. Still getting kills though when required. I think it's definitely interesting to see a play undergo such a big transition, and for the most part, I think it's been quite successful.
And sometimes it's actually really beneficial having a solid fragger play a role like this hard breach role, because Thermite, he's got such a great gun. Once those walls are open, there's no real massive support aspect of it, right? You can simply go frag out because you've done your most priority job. So having a strong fragger with a gun like that is actually really good. And over on Clubhouse, you called him out at some stage for not really being in the game on the defense. But on attack, he ended up getting a heap of kills. He ended up on like 10 or 11 kills in the end. So he can definitely frag out in that role.
Talking about frags, Emo Rin gets the first onto Vinny. So that's Ash taken off the board all the way over at Gong near the front door. So very cheeky there from Emo Rin, denying that entry. And again, things just not looking great for Sinister in the early stages of their attack.
Just another unsuccessful entry, and Vinny also has been struggling a bit, not having a massive impact on the game as we've seen him have before. And another player on Sinister struggling, Derpy, he hasn't really gotten into the game either. And maybe you could chalk that up to the fact he's playing against his old teammates that can create some extra nerves or just a bit of an unsteady mindset. Might be a factor, it might not be. It's hard to say at this stage. But time burned away here, guys. Less than 40 seconds to go, and it feels like Sinister have hardly progressed at all. It's looking like it's probably going to be another wildcard round.
Thought Fisher hit that, but no, it was Nico. Marley gets one as well. It's a 3-on-3 as they explode onto site. Things looking good so far, but the diffuser has been dropped. Pat holding that alongside Diesel, and Sinister basically forced to hunt them down until they can get that diffuser. Diesel gets Derpy. That's the double for him this round. It's still on the ground, and Sinister unable to reclaim it, leaving it all up to Nico. He has 100 HP, but only 5 seconds to work with. No time to get that diffuser and get that plant down. And just when it looked like Sinister were getting themselves back in that round, they just fell short.
They got it down to a 3v2, which I think was a bit of a surprise in itself, considering the control that Wildcard had at that stage of the round. But then they never utilized that to their advantage. That really came down to all just 1v1 gunfights instead of utilizing that man advantage. No real attempt at refrag, or good attempt at refrag, came out there, which is what Sinister had going for them. So a real big misplay from them on a round that they might have been able to capitalize on. Wildcard is starting to run away with this. 4 rounds. Sure, you might say they're more comfortable on the defense, but either way, it's 4 rounds that you are in deficit.
Fisher guy once again will be jumping onto Montang, despite Legion being revealed there by Wildcard. I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, it's easy for us to sort of sit here and be a little bit critical of operator choices. Obviously, these players are got a very limited amount of time to make adjustments, but it just feels like that Monty hasn't had a big impact, and when you're 4-0 down, repeating the same strats might not be the way to go.
Yeah, I'm still pretty critical on this Monty. I don't think it's worked out to great success, so we'll see if Fisher can turn that around in this round, but I'm very skeptical at the moment. And I don't know whether it just feels maybe they're
10
not
seconds to go.
feeling strong with their entry droning, because of course that's one really easy way to fix that, of course, is bring the Monty as an entry droner, so to speak. But I think that's not the play. I don't know. We'll see how the round pans out.
Fisher guy making his way over towards the map. I think I've been pretty satisfied so far with how these teams have been playing out Clean Pocket. Feels like it's flowing quite well. Wildcard have brought some interesting stuff to the table. It hasn't felt like either of these teams are overly underprepared. Yeah, we'll have to wait to see Sinister's defensive lineups, but at least from the side of Wildcard, it looks like some time has definitely been invested in this map, and I guess so far it's paying off.
Yeah, Wildcard have looked pretty good. And on the other hand, I mean, it's 4 defense wins to Wildcard, but it's not like Sinister have been losing these rounds due to the way the map plays out or some really difficult to deal with strategical areas. For example, like that last round, they had a 3v2 man advantage in strong positions. I think it just came down to an error of how they played it. So it feels like it's a pretty even matchup, even though the scoreboard says otherwise. The entries have been not too bad from Sinister on this round, at least, halfway through, but no casualties at least.
We've often seen them lose first player on the server. Hopefully, for their sake, they don't repeat that here in round number 5. That's the scary man, though. Geo on Legion running around the map. We saw him get an ace earlier
Attackers have located
on
a
this
bomb.
map. Yet to get a kill so far, but he's just probing around and could cause issues later. Sinister now trying to advance towards Throne.
That mute gem is there to stop Milo from being able to open it, and they've got Electroclaw ready to trick it. It's going to be an uphill battle to get any wall open here for Sinister. They're going to try, though. See whether it's successful. No, that's the mute jammer. ADS is in the way. Electroclaw takes it off. No real chance there. And this is where the Monty could be helpful, but it's still going to be a bit of a sandwich, just straight through the doorways.
Milo still with some hope that he can get the wall open, but it's not looking good. Quite a grim start to this round for Sinister. It's not really even the start of the round. There's 30 seconds left now for them to work with. All 10 members still alive on 100 HP. It's going to be a trade fest as they try and enter towards site. They managed to get the north wall open. Diesel in an off angle, holding that as Fisher guy enters from the west. So they have a little bit of a pinch going. The call will go out there. Diesel's hard left of the wall, but he can't get the kill on the entry. Diesel going off there, getting a few. Gets another with the pistol. That's the triple for him, and Wildcard just absolutely decimate Team Sinister in that round. The stall from them was perfect. The utility usage intelligent, and they're able to just come through, clean them up, and take 5 rounds straight.
Throne is definitely proving to be an absolute weakness for Sinister's attacks. They have not been able to get anything happening at all attacking this bomb site, and that's some really strong defense positions there from Wildcard. No chance for Sinister on that entry into site. That means that Wildcard are facing a perfect half here on Theme Park, and very, very quickly is Sinister's chance of drawing this series coming to a close.
Keep in mind, of course, if Wildcard do win this next round, they are going to be on match point. However, this is a best of 2 series with overtime.
Attackers need to
So
locate
Sinister
and defuse the bomb.
could potentially win a whole bunch of rounds straight to even out the series, but so far it's not looking like it's going to go that way. Even the optimistic Guz inside of me is thinking that Sinister are going to have their work cut out for them, because it hasn't even really been a round yet where they've looked like winning it. And if that momentum continues, that second half is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it's not looking good at all, and we will have to see how their defense pans out. At best, they're going to be facing getting 6 rounds in a row to get the map win back, but right now it's 7. And they brought the Kali this time, but that's a difference. To help get through those hard walls, things like the Electroclaws can be much easier dealt with by a Kali, her gadget. Whether that helps them or not, we'll see. And they haven't brought the Montaigne back, which I think is great because that's so many rounds where I felt like he was very ineffective. And it meant a player like Fisho just didn't have a good gun to be able to help his team with.
Yeah, and I guess the stats support that, only going 1 and 5. Of course, because you wouldn't expect a Monty to be fragging out. And those numbers are really uncharacteristic for a player like Fisho Guy, often up there with his teammates, like Vinny and even Nico, who's also having a bit of a quiet match. So no one for Sinister at the moment really shining through, and that might be hurting them at the moment.
I mean, maybe they're being really caught off guard as well by actually how organized Wildcard on this map. Maybe they felt that Wildcard would be underprepared and they were catching them off guard, but I think that seems like the table has been flipped on its head here, and that Sinister seem pretty unprepared for what Wildcard are doing.
Bomb located by attackers.
Nico gets one though, so Sinister finally getting the first pick in one of these rounds could open it up for them. Nico almost getting a second. Ethan on a slither of HP, one more shot should take him out, and that's now going to give Sinister the confidence to try and open in towards Office. That's Milo using the first of his exothermic charges, but once again, that C4 spot will be used by Wildcard to shut him down. Fisho gets one back though onto Jer as Derpy is holding this long angle all the way across a waiting room. Fisho gets a second though, leaving it up to Emorin and Ethan, who is still so low on HP. Surely this long angle will shut him down if Sinister have the intel. It's Derpy though on the sniper trying to take him down. Might not be the most effective gadget or gun for this range, and Ethan gets one. Almost gets the second, but is shut down there eventually by Vinny. By Fisho Guy rather. So there you go, Fisho Guy, put him on the Zephyr, you win rounds, confirmed.
Yeah, imagine that, guys. Give a fragger a gun and he gets 3. Unreal. Sinister do get their first attack round and the only attack round for that half. And that was a much better attack for them, very confident. A nice entry. Nico did open it up and never really looked in doubt after that. Wildcard, of course, having a solid lead now. They're going to have to contend with Sinister's defense. And Sinister are going to start in Armory Throne Room, which has proven to be strong so far in this matchup.
Ethan teasing the Nook pick for just a split second, but will 6 pick onto Ash, potentially putting a little bit of doubt in the minds of Sinister, of course. Nook having the very specific ability of hiding oneself from
Attackers
the
need to
defender
locate
cameras.
and defuse bombs.
Very situational. We don't see Nook played a whole lot in competitive, but you know, maybe we'll see some play on Theme Park. Could be some openings later down the line when this map is better developed.
Yeah, Theme Park is definitely a map that you could see a bit of Nook played on. You rely a lot on these default cameras and, of course, intel around the map. There's a lot of hallways, a lot of rooms. And it's really important also as a defense to read where the attack is coming from early, because it's not a huge map per se. It can be pretty quick to rotate. So keeping tabs is important. So the Nook can be
5 seconds
a
to
bit of a
insert.
split in that. Not to be stuck though. Ethan deciding Ash is his comfort,
Attackers are
Ash is
moving
what
out
he'll
to
play.
locate a bomb and defuse
Seeing
it.
Sinister again extend the roam vertically is something that Wildcard had as well. And be pretty effective in preventing that office control so that they don't get the vertical play into Armory.
Talking about vertical play, Emorin here on the sledge will be quite critical in opening up a lot of angles from above, as Wildcard have opted not to bring up. I don't think we saw Sinister bring buck at all either, so some consistency across the board there. Sometimes teams just put throwing one gadget over the other. Pat goes for a pre-fire through the wall. Don't think that was actually close to hitting that player there towards barrels. No, it would have been Nico safely sitting there. Could find himself in an engagement though. The drone spots him out. Gets himself towards the yellow stairs though, so not too bad a result there for Nico, who's wasting quite a bit of time.
Yeah, always good to be able to shoot those drones and rotate away without them knowing where you've gone. It does delay a lot of the time there. And looks like Wildcard are actually pretty close to pushing in through bathroom towards office. They've taken some control in cash. Ethan up there, and Diesel actually down in Gong. Start walking towards maintenance, so maybe they're going to try and work on the maintenance wall in towards Throne. They're going to have to start getting some warm-up control soon, as half the round is almost expired.
Did see Team Sinister have quite a few issues in opening up that maintenance wall, contesting the ADSs that were protecting the mute jammers that were used as a buffer for the Kaid Electro Claws. Team Sinister not electing to bring Kaid on this occasion, so if they can clear those jammers, they might be able to get that wall open. There is some verticality as well to contest with, and I think it's safe to say that this setup so far from Team Sinister is looking quite strong.
So far, no real contest happening at all besides that initial duel between Nico and Pat, if you could even call it that. They didn't really shoot bullets at each other, just in general directions. And all that air jab has been taken out, which means Nico's been able to rotate. Seems they're aware, and he's going to get the intel, and this could be the absolute end of Wildcard here. Doesn't secure the pick, though. It's Geo taken low. There's another one pushing up on him, but he's taken out by an air jab. Vinny finally capitalizes there, guys, and it means that Sinister have opened it up a bit.
Geo on critical HP. Oh, Nico sees him through the bullet hole. Good night, Geo. Pat as well taken down. Leaving it up to Emo-Rin and Diesel to try and reclaim this round. They have found their way in towards site, but it's not going to be an easy plan. 20 seconds left on the board. Their position well and truly revealed. And now it's Emo-Rin in a 1-on-4. So many angles to watch. He can't do it all, and Vinny will take him down for a win here in round number 7.
Yeah, a bit of a sitting duck position there if you're in behind Throne and your opponents know it. There's not too many places you can go, but a whole lot of angles to worry about. And that was a really dominant defense round from Sinister, so this could be the start of something here, guys. Not going to call it yet. There's no train leaving the station, but that was a great round from them. And Wildcard looked like they really struggled to deal with it.
The conductor is waiting for the train to arrive, I think. Then we can start talking about maybe Sinister boarding the train, and then maybe if it gets a little bit closer to the train departing. But yeah, still a long way away before that comeback train really does start to chug along. Still a massive deficit that Sinister are facing. I would be quite surprised if they reverse sweep this, despite it being theme park. I think it would be a really good effort, considering that pretty much all of those rounds in the first half never looked like going Sinister's way.
Yeah, there were none that really had the close conclusion that we saw on Clubhouse. There were some instances where it felt like Sinister had the chance to open the round or really take it back into their advantage, but they weren't able to capitalize on those. They are going to have to lean on these defenses, and so far, after one round, it's a bit early, but after one round, that looked quite good. And I mean, Throne does have a strong win chance, and you would expect them to win it. They've done that. If they can win this, then I think that's really starting to prove that their defense is strong. I'm going to call comeback if it gets to 5-4.
Oof. Okay. Yeah, I'll back you on that. I will agree.
Oh, thanks, bro.
I guess the question is then, when does the pressure start to mount on Wildcard a little bit? Because I'm tipping after the first half, they would have felt quite comfortable. And I mean, losing one round on your first attack is never the end of the world. You're not going to be too stressed about that. But I'm sure if these rounds start to compile a little bit, they might start to feel a little bit worried. We have seen these teams actually draw it out recently in their competitive history. Of course, no draws in this format, but definitely a chance for it to be a close finish.
Been on the hunt downstairs here for any roamer around, and there is one below. It's Nico on the pulse, getting intel for his team out of Drug Lab. He might be running straight into the crosshairs of Ethan, though. He hasn't pulsed this room at all and actually just rotates straight through into the crosshair, taken out. So that's a good start for Wildcard, and it's going to boost them a lot. A lot of intel and a C4 now not able to be utilized by Sinister.
So Wildcard preparing to enter in towards Cash. Both Fisho and Milo trying to delay that for as long as possible. Nomad air jabs going out as well from Geo to try and disrupt this hold. Does look like the utility is posing some problems for Wildcard, but they still have half the round to go, and most importantly, they have that man advantage.
And this is going to be a real tough decision point for Sinister. Do they try and play aggressive to even it back out? Or do they turtle and then try and just get Wildcard to stall so that they can then have time advantage? It looks like Milo and Vinny are still playing pretty aggressive here. Milo looking to peek out and support Fisho as Wildcard are pushing in through Cash. There's a lot of consistent pressure meeting in the middle. Got to give one way here, and we're about to find out which way that will go.
Bicho guy definitely known for his proficiency on the shotgun, but instead he will pull out the SMG. Milo though shuts him down. Fisho lights one up but doesn't get the kill. It's a 3-on-4 now as he rotates in towards office. That cross still being held alongside Milo. They're not wanting to give up this ground whatsoever. Trying to prevent the entry at all costs. There's 30 seconds left on the board. It does look like they have entered. Sinister, not quite aware, I don't think, that they are inside a cache. That barbed wire, that will be a good audio cue for them. Flash is coming out. Fisho so low on HP. 1 or 2 shots will definitely take him down as the push comes in. Thermite seemingly unaware that he's in here. That's Diesel taken down.
10 seconds left.
And Ethan as well, so it's a 3-on-2. Emerald has to get aggressive and try and go for this peak. He gets one. They need to frag it out though. They're not going to get this plant down. Surely Sinister can deny it. Derpy on the Echo drone would have been able to do so anyway, as Sinister managed to protect the bombs and win the round. Did they try and plant it there at the end? Surely not. I don't think they did. I'm going to say no.
That, Guz.
I'm gonna side with Wildcard and say no.
He dropped the diffuser in that corner, so I don't know whether they actually thought that was bomb side or whether maybe Emo's just trolling us a little bit. But either way, I like that Sinister stuck to their guns. I was talking about there was a point there where they had to decide whether they were going to play aggressive or play chill. And they ended up playing it really calm. Milo got that one pick in through cache, and that meant they could just then hold that crossfire in office, and Wildcard just stalled out so bad at that point. Another good round from Cinestyle. They've strung 2 together now. Score line looking much more respectable.
Well, we're not quite at that critical 4-5 yet. Sinister
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
again
bombs
still
as they
quite
can.
a big buffer to contest. But hey, they've proven so far in the defenses that they've been quite strong. Wildcard in a similar fashion to their opponents, falling for some of these traps that the defenders are setting. These choke points proving quite difficult to really maneuver through or around. So Sinister can keep up that good work. I don't know, they might be able to bring it back, maybe. Just maybe.
Edging closer and closer. We'll wait and see. Looks like they're going to extend their roam across. Milo is in cafe at the moment at least, so maybe he's going to early contest on that side if that's where Wildcard push from. But it looks like they've got a lot of drones set up on the east here. Or at least Diesel and Ethan with their drones on that side. A lot spawning here too, so Bumper's push it is. Maybe trying to take some vertical control through control and cash and put pressure into initiation or office.
I must say, I've been quite impressed with your call-out knowledge rate. It's been quite good. Been good. I like it.
I actually really like Theme Park, so I mean I've been waiting for this because I like the map and
Oh
yeah, ooh wow, that's a good shot.
I like that kill. That's Geo, good night. And Ethan, good
No,
night.
no way.
Milo, what are you doing? That is quite the interesting play. Gets in 2 to open up the round, and I don't know, Raven, maybe we're getting close to that 4-5 train coming around.
It's feeling like it so far, man, and that's a really great start from Milo. And look, I would say that is fair to not be expecting that aggression. Sinister in the last 2 rounds, they didn't play anything like that, and that was super aggressive. The early peek from the top floor window and then down into maintenance, catching Ethan off guard. Well played, and yeah, it's going to be tough for Wildcard now. It's such a big man deficit.
Still a lot of utility for Wildcard to clear Vinny. Namely, inside of initiation, not only is he behind a shield, but so many of those discs to protect him. That's 2 flashes burnt. Likely flashing some of the players inside of control. Not sure how many Vinny has left. He peeks it and gets shut down. That's a great shot from Diesel on the Thermite. That 5.56 proving powerful, and now they can get the wall open. This could be the turning point for this round. If they're able to open the wall, Sinister could be in a bit of trouble.
They do have that soft wall in towards the Bunk's side there, but either way, this is going to be super important. Diesel has pushed through, and actually he's in a position to plant here behind Pillar of Initiation, but he's a bit worried about where he's going to get flanked from. He has teammates there to cover, but it's definitely a potential plant.
Plant being stuck here from Diesel as he, nope, fakes it out. Goes forward again, trying to bait out any of these defenders. Gets denied by the Yokai drone. C4 as well from Nico. Takes him down. Massive there from the pulse, and now they're forced to go for frags. Pat does get one. The refrag just missed there by Sinister, but eventually they will clean it up. Fisho gets 2 on the flank. And Raven, we're there. It's 4-5. The train is beginning to warm up a little bit here.
Yep. Look, that's a full sweep of their sights. 3 in a row. It's looking pretty good for Sinister. Wildcard, they had a window there, I would say, but that Echo Drone above, I didn't see whether it was there the whole time that Diesel was ready to plant. But maybe if he just went and planted straight away, might have been successful with it. We won't know. Either way, Wildcard, they were playing from behind that whole round there where they lost the first opening picks to Milo. And yeah, if they lose Armory Throne Room, which so far has a 100% win rate, it's going to be tough, man. 5-5. Wildcard, it's a lot of pressure to be under.
Sinister on this occasion, 6-picking onto Kaid, so they will have both the Electro Claws and Mooch Jammers
Attackers
to
need
deny
locate and defuse as
these
many bombs
walls.
as they can.
Molosca as well with the ADS devices to protect any projectiles used to clear those, so I don't know, Wildcard are going to have a lot of troubles, I think, opening some of these walls, which could prove costly.
ADS deployed and ready to go.
Very interesting to see how they try and deal with it.
Yeah, Thatcher not being there makes such a big difference attacking this map in general, and especially this bomb site. The Wamai and the Jaeger pick, it's just so much utility you have to clear, so you can use nades, for example, to help you
10
clear the
seconds
utility to
remaining.
open the walls. Vertical play not an option in Throne, you can only really do that in Armory,
5 seconds
which is
left.
why most teams try and take this cash side, but it's being held hard by a Sinister.
Attackers are moving
So as long
out
as
to
this
locate
roam
a
works
bomb and
out,
defuse it.
and at least stalls out Wildcard, it's an incredibly tough round for them to win.
Magnets ready.
Definitely liking some of the use or usage of Wamai here by Vinny. Seems to definitely be his little base on this map, so often setting up here. Inside of initiation, facing control. Trying to deny any of that push coming up by Wildcard from above. They are once again bringing that verticality potential in Emo Rin and breaching charges of Pat. Even the Ash charges as well. Talking about Pat, he gets the first onto Molosca, so that aggression has been tamed. Not too sure where Molosca was. But,
Yellow stairs.
Yellow?
I think
Oh.
I think it was a
Oh,
pre-fire
yeah,
just
good
through
night.
that window. I think just caught him rotating.
Poor Milo. Ah well. That's what he gets for trying to be aggressive for 2 rounds, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, bro, just stand still.
Yep. Just don't get shot. It's not hard. It's not that hard.
That's definitely going to help Wildcard, but I mean, half the rounds ticked away. They don't have any map control. They've got the man advantage, and they're finally going to jump in to Dragon Stairs,
Bomb located
try
by
and push through
attackers.
control and get something happening here. Diesel really wants to open this throne wall, and this is going to be the tell. There's so much utility to clear, and so much to deny this. They can get this open, then it's going to be a big plus for Wildcard and to get this round.
They're looking to get quite aggressive there. Still has 2 Electro Claws, so probably wise for him to stay alive here as he'll aid in denying the hard breach on that wall. C4 coming out from Fisher Guy. Will not find a target. Emo Rin able to scathe away from that one, not taking any damage. Diesel as well. A little bit close on his drone, but again, still on full HP. Looks like Wildcard have pretty good presence around the map holding these flanks, but it's just getting those walls open that's proving so challenging.
And they're trying to play really cautious. They're maintaining their map control, sure, which is really good. And they really want to get these walls open, but it's stalling them out a lot. We're down to 40 seconds now. They haven't had any other picks besides that opening one. That being said, Vinny's been downed as Nico does try and save him. They're exploding onto that though, so that's going to get them 2 picks, meaning it's a 4 versus 2, guys. 30 seconds to go. No walls open, but with the man advantage, they can attempt to trade outside.
C4 again coming over that wall in towards maintenance. Doesn't net a kill. Now Derpy needs to try and hold this entry.
15 seconds to go.
Wildcard basically forced him, brute forcing this Derpy as he turns his back. Almost gets shot, but Fisho's watching the cross. He gets 2. Can he get 3? Surely he will. He does. The Diffuser is dropped. But Gio could get him back. No! Fisho goes absolutely massive in that round. Just decimating Wildcard. And we'll continue this streak for Team Sinister. Raven, it's now 5-5.
That was an insane anchor job there from Fisho. Great job from him. And yep, Sinister 5-5, you said. They've fully brought this back, and we're going to wind it back here and see Fisho's beautiful little 4K all in the last 10 seconds here. Really, really well played from him, and just an absolute fail to trade that out from Wildcard, and it was a great crossfire from Sinister. And they're up against the wall. Wildcard have lost all momentum now. It's all in the favor of Sinister. They've lost all advantages. What do you think, guys? 5-5. Can Sinister get the final 2 rounds and actually close the map?
That is the golden question at the moment. It's
Attackers need to locate
still so
and
tricky to
defuse
say
bombs.
because, I mean, up until this stage, Wildcard, they managed to win their first 5 rounds on their defense and then lost their final 1. So if that pattern continues, then we'll see Wildcard edge that advantage. So, actually, no, sorry, I'm getting my rounds mixed up. We still have, no, so, okay, so what I was thinking I was saying there was Wildcard, of course, they lost their final defense, which then meant it was 5-1 in the half. If Sinister lose this round, they potentially put themselves at the advantage of losing the map. It's not going to go into overtime if Wildcard win the next 2. So just ignore everything I said there. I was trying to be a little bit big brain and trying to find a pattern, but I did not connect the dots.
Objective is to locate a bomb and defuse
It's right. At least you tried, you know? You got to put the effort in, yeah?
A for effort. A for effort for Sinister so far. We can say that. That is
Oh.
flat.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how one-sided a map can be. Coming back from such a deficit is still
Attackers have
a
located
big
bomb.
task. You have to battle against momentum and mindset. You can always look at it and accept, hey, it's defender-sided map. It's okay, guys. But it still doesn't count the fact that you look at that scoreline and you think, wow, we're 2 rounds away from losing this map. And they've brought it back, and now they have momentum in this position. It's really good for them, but ooh, some shots being missed by Ethan. Would have got the opening, and we're seeing slower entry again from Wildcard, but a different one. They're trying to push the cafe, which we haven't really seen either of these teams do so far.
Definitely could be interesting. Hard to really judge how much utility Sinister have dedicated to that side of the map. They do have a Yokai drone watching it, some barbed wire as well to try and slow down these attackers. But the question is, will that prove enough? It does appear as if Wildcard have now rotated around. Instead, repelling on that south wall. Diesel almost getting that first pick, but then he does get away.
That would have been a pick very valuable for Wildcard, not to be. On these break windows, actually 2 Wildcard players, this window was prepped. There could have been a jump out, not sure whether there's been an air jab placed on it or not. Doesn't actually look like it. Either way, very vulnerable position. Hard to see. A trade coming out though, 4 versus 4, coming into the final stage of the round. And that's going to have to favor Sinister.
We know that Wildcard often do thrive in these late round scenarios, but with theme park proving so challenging for these executes, that may not be the case here. Diesel wary of a flank. Gets flashed by his teammate as well. Not ideal. He's in a great position to deny Nico, who does get the kill. And he's going to rotate over towards yellow. Potentially, air jab slows him down. As it's now a 3-on-3. Fisher guy dropped during that encounter, and the smoke's now coming out from Wildcard. The diffuser being planted by Diesel. Where's the denial from Team Sinister? That is the question. The Yoko drone from Derpy, it's too far away, and the bomb is planted. Diesel gets one, and now Derpy and Nico need to try and retake the site. The pre-fire from Derpy is successful, netting him 1. He gets a 2nd, and now they have the man advantage. They can slow things down a little bit here, potentially try and find exactly where this player is. I think Nico knows. He had his scanner out, but he gets taken down, and now it's a 1-on-1 Derpy against his former team. A massive gunfight here. Emorin doesn't quite finishing him off, but gets him low as he rotates over towards Arcade. He comes back. Derpy almost takes him out, but Emorin manages to deny it, and Wildcard will get their first attack in the half.
Yep, they've bucked the trend. All that momentum has now been stopped, and it means that they are a match point. So Sinister, it's back on them. They have to summon the strength to at least push it to overtime. And what side are they going to choose, guys? Because, I mean, that looked pretty good for them until Wildcard were able to sneak in and get the plant done. Could go to initiation. That was a nice double from Derpy to bring it back, but Nico caught with the scanner out.
Almost thought Derpy was going to kill Emo in there. I think he got the first shots onto him, so maybe just missing the head there of Emo Rin. Either way, though, it's now match point in favor of Wildcard. If they win the next round, they will win this best of 2 series 2-0, coming off the back of the Clubhouse win. If they lose this round, it's not over. We will head into regulation overtime. Potentially 3 more rounds after this, so hold on to your seats. It's looking to really go down to the wire this one.
Yeah, it really is. Sinister have decided to go initiation office, which they did win the first time they tried it. But look, Wildcard had a pretty good attempt. They got the control wall open into initiation, and they were trying to get that plant down behind the pillar there, but it was denied nicely by Sinister in the end. And the round was really won by Milo, getting 2 picks in the first minute. And if that doesn't happen this time, it's going to be interesting to see how the round plays out differently.
Time will tell as the preparation phase will cease. And Wildcard now have 3 minutes to mount their attack.
Defender has left the
Oh,
area
this
of
could be aggressive from
operation.
Milo.
Defender has been discovered.
Oh no, Milo. Settle down. Doesn't see anyone. Gonna pre-fire through the barricade as well, but again, not really netting a kill. Would have been a very spicy way to open the round, but unfortunately, like that previous round where we saw his ultra-aggressive playstyle, it hasn't quite worked out.
And no early picks at this stage. Wildcard are going to approach. Imran opening the hatches on the roof just to create some rotate points as well, put a little bit of pressure on the defense. Going to be down to how Sinister read this. It looks like it's quite a split push, in fact. Maybe orchestrating some kind of pinch in the mid to late round. How Wildcard execute it. Oh, a nice pre-fire from Ethan there onto the top of yellow stairs means Fisho
Bomb
not
located by
have
attacker.
play in the rest of the round.
We've seen Sinister really
Attackers
thrive when
located
they've
a bomb.
gone in the opening, killing some of these some of these rounds rather, and struggling in others where they've lost that man. Of course, this round being one of those, so it's gonna be up to them to try and recover. Try and find a pick. Gunfight comes out, and Diesel manages to win that against Derpy behind the shield. A big kill for him and his team. And Raven, I think this one might well and truly go in the way of Wildcard now, unless something big comes out from Sinister. We do see Nico below. He has the scan around and could be gathering some intel here. He doesn't quite get the kill though. Geo shuts him down, and now it's a 2-on-5.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Sinister here. It's all up to Milo and Vinny. They can both really frag out though, so they're gonna have to anchor deep to hold on for a whole minute. Wildcard with 5 players. Diesel low, but still a strong man advantage.
Oscar and Vinny, 2 big gunners for this team, but they're gonna have to find 5. It's a tall ask, and now it's going to be a 1-on-5 as Milo gets shut down by Geo. Vinny's being droned, and it's surely the end of things here for Team Sinister. And it is. Wildcard will take this round flawlessly to win Theme Park. 7-5. The comeback train was almost arriving there for Team Sinister, but just like that, Wildcard managed to shut it down and take full points in tonight's best of 2.
It was really close in the end on Theme Park. As you said, Wildcard had a massive advantage after that first half. The Sinister fought back nicely, not able to hold on though. And Wildcard are looking good, guys. We were critical of them in Pro League. They've changed their roster around. And again, it's not like Sinister were the pushover team we saw in that first half of Pro League. Sinister have come back really strong in the second half of Pro League. And even against Wildcard, as you said, they are still considered an A-class team here in ANZ. So being able to perform so well against them in 6 Masters is definitely a positive thing for Sinister, but not able to actually secure any points.
Yeah, I think the fact that they didn't secure any points will hurt them a little bit deep down, because we saw, harping back again to Season 11 of Pro League, that cost them in the end quite a bit, and I think it took them quite a bit of time to recover from that. So hopefully, despite not taking any points tonight, they can really highlight the positives that they did bring, because, for example, on Clubhouse, they managed to really trade rounds quite well and kept it quite tight. And then if you want to move on to Theme Park, I mean, they lost 5 rounds straight. Looked like they're on the verge of losing the map and the series. Mounted a decent comeback, but it wasn't quite enough in the end.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of positives Sinister can look into for tonight. You're right, though. There's no way they're going to be happy with the fact they got no points. And Wildcard, I don't know. I'm really curious to find out how they felt about Theme Park in general coming into it. They looked fantastic on defense, and on attack, they looked pretty sketchy. They finally got something happening. The first attack that they did manage to win, that one in Bunk Daycare, that was real close. If that plan had been denied, completely different story for Wildcard. And maybe we would have seen the map go in a completely different direction. But either way, wasn't totally convincing on Theme Park, but Wildcard are looking pretty good.
Well, I mean, of course, that was pretty much the first time in high-level competitive play in ANZ we have seen Theme Park played. How are you feeling coming out of that one? Because I know, at least speaking for myself, and I'm pretty sure you as well, we're both pretty excited heading into this matchup, expecting to see some interesting plays. I guess, did it live up to your expectations? Because for me personally, I think it played out quite nicely.
Yeah, I mean, besides the fact that we saw a lot of defense rounds 1, which I was a little bit surprised about, I thought we might have seen more attacks. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was an enjoyable matchup. It was pretty close. Some of those rounds went to the wire, and some of the rounds were a bit blowouty. But at the end of the day, I just think we saw a couple of teams that were feeling out their strategies and how to play on the map. We don't know how often they've really scrimmed it. Maybe there's some teams out there that haven't been scrimming it because it's their Insta-ban. We won't really know, but I'm excited to see how it develops through the series of 6 Masters.
Well, I mean, now we can take a little bit of a look into the future, of course. Wildcard taking full points this evening. Their next opponent will be Team Ferox, who were previously under the banner of Fury. What can we expect taking into that one? Because I'm tipping that one might not be as close as this one. But it's hard to say because Ferox have had some roster changes.
Yeah, that's another unknown. Ferox have changed their roster quite a bit. They've changed the banner they're under. So there's a lot of variables at play there. It's hard to say whether they will continue the form they had in Pro League, which wasn't fantastic. There is a chance there that it will be more one-sided than tonight. I would lean towards that being the case, considering Wildcard seem to be in good form. And even if Ferox have improved, I don't think they're going to improve to the point where they will be able to go toe-to-toe with Wildcard.
Well, unfortunately, Team Sinister were unable to get any points this evening in the best of 2. Let's have a word to Vinny and see what he thinks of tonight.
Hey guys,
G'day, Vinny. Probably not the result you guys would have wanted tonight, but off the bat, how does it feel just coming in and coming back and playing some competitive Siege?
I mean, we've all missed it, obviously. Breaks are good for our mentality, but it's good to be back, yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Theme Park. I mean, that was your map pick. Tell us about that. Was there something in particular that you felt you had on your side going into that map?
So we knew that Wildcard was a team that relies pretty heavily on counter-stratting and botting and stuff, and obviously nobody's played Theme Park yet in ANZ, so we thought that was our best chance to get something a bit different in. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, and you obviously had a roster change as well. You had Derp playing tonight instead of Luna. I'm curious to hear how that went, because you guys were going from strength to strength at the end of Pro League, and having a change, some people thought maybe that might stunt it. But how did it feel for you guys?
So yeah, Luna told us about 3 weeks ago that she was going to have internet issues for a little while. So we knew we had to pick up somebody that could fill that role that she played, and that she played really well. And yeah, Dirt was a bit of a no-brainer to at least trial, and yeah, he's impressed us a lot since he's come in. Obviously some teething issues, but you know, that's expected.
Sweet. Well, I guess looking ahead, you guys will be taking on Pittsburgh Knights in your next play day. Of course, Stiggs recently leaving that team. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you guys think you'll go against them in your next match?
Well, first off, congratulations to Stiggs. He's a really hardworking player, and he definitely deserves it. And like, it doesn't change anything that we do going into the next game. We know that Pittsburgh's a really strong team, a very frag heavy team, but you know, not to be underestimated at all. Even with a roster change, I'm sure they have somebody who can fill the role just as well. So same prep for any other team.
All right, sweet. Vinny, we'll wrap it up there. We appreciate your time and all the best for the rest of the season.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Pass the wholesome vibe check. So good start to the 6 Masters. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's not very happy with the result, but at the same time, as he mentioned, Derpy coming in causing some teething issues, and I think the fact that they took it up relatively well to Wildcard. You know, can't be underestimated because they are a strong team. I mean, they recently went to the Six Invitational, which is the best of the best.
Yeah, I think considering some of the circumstances, Sinister they've done all right, and I think they could have done better. So they can take that in their stride into their next matches. How they're going to go against Pittsburgh is going to be interesting because, like some of these other teams that we've already mentioned, there's been some changes that you'd mentioned as well with Stigs going to Fnatic. But either way, I think Sinister have some good things ahead of them. You've got to assume that they'll only start to tighten things up and that maybe their performance will start to creep up a bit and boost. There's definitely a chance they could finish top 4 in Six Masters based on what we've seen tonight. And if they're able to continue to fix some of these small mistakes, for sure, I think they can really climb up in the ladder.
Well, I guess we can start talking a little bit about how Wildcard are feeling coming out of tonight. Do you think they'll be satisfied with the result? Because, of course, they did win and take full points, but do you think they really were able to flex their muscles maybe as much as they would have liked?
I think it still shows that they've got some things to work on, a couple of areas they need to tighten up, but I think they'll generally be pretty happy with how they played. Considering they bled a lot of rounds in a row on Theme Park, to be able to come back and still close it out is probably good for them. And at the end of the day, points are points, and they got all the points that were there to get. So they can't be completely unhappy with that. It's just like any other series. You learn from your mistakes and you move on to the next, and the fact they didn't drop any points is going to be a big plus for them.
Well, let's see what Wildcard think. We have Silex, the coach of their team, ready and waiting. Let's bring him up. G'day, Silex. Congratulations on the 6 points this evening. How does it feel coming back into Siege? Is it a good feeling? Good vibe?
Hey guys, hey Raven. Yeah, it's like nice to be back. Brand new season, brand new team. Well, we played with Gio and Pat at the end of last season, but been working on some stuff. Paid off. It's nice to have a couple of wins to start the season off. So yeah.
Cool. I mean, I want to talk about the maps a little bit, and specifically maybe about the veto system change. You don't have to reveal too much, but obviously that changes a lot how you would prepare coming into this, and you ended up on Clubhouse and Theme Park. How did that really match up with your expectations?
So I think it's public knowledge. Please don't shoot me down if I'm wrong, but you get one ban now, and 3 maps are left in the pool after you pick as well. So it changes things a little bit, especially for teams who don't have a wider pool. We banned Border, which, if anyone's watching, it's no surprise. And we expected them to ban Consulate against us. They've done that in the past, and we picked Club against them. Turned out as we pretty much expected. And them picking Theme, it wasn't a massive surprise, because Derp kind of knows that our mentality, we're not massive fans of really getting into the new maps as soon as they're out. We like to test the waters a bit, experiment and whatever. So maybe that drove their decision to pick Theme Park against us. But in the end, we came out on top on that map. It was a bit rough, but still, a win's a win.
Sweet. You guys, of course, will be taking on Ferox in your next play day. Of course, they were previously known as Fury. Last season, you guys had a couple of issues against that team, especially with their aggression. How are you guys going to be approaching them in your next matchup?
Well, I think we're just going to work on our play and just take that mentality, and when we come up against them, we'll just make sure we're not making the same mistakes as we did last time. Left our flanks open quite a lot, and that cost us rounds.
Awesome. Well, Silex, as always, we appreciate your time a lot, and we hope to see you soon. Good night.
Have a good night, guys. See ya.
Bye. Another wholesome interview. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, it was good to hear a bit more insight about how that veto went out. I'm really curious about how teams approach its predictability, because sometimes it can be really hard to guess what your opponent's pick would be when there's so many maps available. The fact that they weren't overly surprised doesn't surprise me too much, because they played so well out of the gates. Shaky though, but they still got the win. I think it's a good start for the season for Wildcard. They can really build from here. It was just small mistakes for them to fix, and it looks like they are really regaining some of that strength that they are known for.
Well, I mean, we have, I guess, alluded to the fact that Wildcard are one of the strongest teams here in ANZ. Early impressions off the bat, are they going to be fighting for that top spot here in Six Masters? Or is it too early to say?
It's hard to say, but it feels like it. A lot of that felt like a better Wildcard than we saw in Season 11. So the fact they finished in 4th in Season 11 makes me feel like they can climb a bit higher. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually come back to contest top 2, probably next to Elevate, but there's obviously a lot more matches to play out as well. Hard to call, but yeah, I really feel like it is them climbing back.
Well, Wildcard are your victors here in the first series against Team Sinister, taking it out 2-0. But come back very shortly for the second series. It will be Elevate taking on LFO. We'll see you soon.
Attackers drop.
Maybe you're like Caden and Hank, who get a real thrill from the speed of their HDDs.